Good evening and a warm welcome to one and all. It's again yet another one more evening with G20 International One Planet Cabinet. And so every week after week, Sunday after Sunday, we have been discussing about SDG goals, basically, how to achieve SDG goals, how to control climatic adaptation, global warming, and the climatic adaptation with mitigation and restoration process, everything. So on this community cause, we are gathered here today on this day to talk about loss and damage. Loss and damage, and it's imperative to act now on mitigation and adaptation to save our planet, the only planet that we have, the planet Earth. So on this note, please help me to welcome all our community partners, GSFN, Goodwich and Seva Trust, Institution of Green Engineers, Amity University, Dubai, Dr. MGR Education and Research Institute, Sri Ramchandra Medical College, and Sri Sairam Institute of Engineering and the institutions, JNN Group of Institutions, Sri Ishwar College of Engineering, the Gracious Foundation, Green Bricket Private India, and Ishwar Engineering College. Welcome all. And with them, may I take the privilege of introduce the topic for today, that is loss and damage in the context of climatic change. And our presidency for today is that time to act now, to act on mitigation and adaptation to save our planet Earth. So as we all know, what is this loss and damage? What are we really talking about? The concept of loss and damage often raises an important moral and ethical considerations. When faced with situations where harm and the harm and the damage has occurred, and it is likely to occur, there may be a strong imperative to act. So when we say it's a moral imperative to act, what are things that we can act on is that how to prevent the harm. So when you do that process, as a process, say we take audit reports and we just, simulation goes on and we just study the reports. Where this leads to the next step is that the restoration process, the restorative justice. When harm or damage has occurred, there may be a moral imperative to act and take steps to restore and repair the harm which has been caused. So on that note, who is going to do it? The answer is we. So the accountability passed on to us as individuals of this planet, as the inheritors of this planet, holding the individuals, not only the individual, into each individual cannot do a simple effort. So it should be a collective operation. When it comes to the collective operation, we take in charge, or we take involvement of the organizations who are involved in it, accountable for the actions and the important aspect of addressing the loss and damage. So when it's done with the process of preventing the harm, restoration process, taking accountability as we, the stakeholders, with the compensation of providing the fair compensation to those who have suffered the loss and damage, could be the moral imperative in certain situations. When it is so, what are the damages are we talking about? We could be talking about environmental damage, we could be talking about human rights violations, we could be talking about social injustice or any personal relationships. In that aspect, so more into detail, we have got our eminent speakers who have gathered here on this stage to talk more about it, to deliberate more about it. So let me just take this opportunity to welcome all our eminent speaker delegates who are going to talk about the loss and damage in the context of climatic change. That's the deliberation one, which will be addressed by Dr. Elena Boswick. Welcome, ma'am. It's always a pleasure having you amidst us. Ms. Mona Sawan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Doctor. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Neha Ban and Dr. Divya KS. Moving ahead, there are other pointers which have been taken for consideration, but nobody has opted for it. That is, adaptation limits, a key point of understanding of this loss and damage. Probably one of the speakers will be covering these topics in their presentation. Losses and claims are disproportionately experienced in vulnerable developing countries. This point is going to be addressed in each and every presentation, I'm telling you. So loss and claims are disproportionately experienced in the vulnerably developing countries. And the fourth pointer, which is most favorite of all, is that future loss and damage will raise the increased global warming. That is, this will be addressed by Dr. Anjum Qureshi. Welcome, ma'am. Mr. Nahid Rasa. Welcome, sir. Mr. Mohammed Zubair. Dr. Vasanti Reena Williams, welcome ma'am. Mr. Premnath Babu, and also Dr. K.M. Priya. Thank you. There's one other pointer which is open to the floor, that is limitations to adaptation, stopping to provide the protection against climatic impacts, and so that we will be able to conclude it with a summary. Thank you so much. And also we owe a sincere gratitude to all our patrons here. Shri Mano Tangaraj sir, who was a former minister and present MLA, Dr. Valamati ma'am of GVST Trust, CEO of GVST Trust, Dr. Renuka Thakur, Dr. Ramesh Aijan, Dr. Vinod Shukla, Dr. C.R. Rennie Robin from Sairam Engineering College, Dr. Kadiravan from SRM Engineering College, Dr. Lakshman from Ishwar Engineering College, and Her Excellency Belina Gurata from Gracious Foundation, Dr. Virginia Rivera, Dr. Piyush Pandit, Mahasada, and all from IIU, that is International Internship University, Dr. Mamta Chawla, Dr. Girish Sapra from Green Planet, Dr. Anju Sabharwal, Dr. Veena Williams ma'am, Dr. Preeta George, Dr. Tanuja Balasubramaniam, and last but not the least, our favorites, Payas Niranjan, and also joining today in the accord, Mridula. Thank you so much. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry about it. Let's go on to the session. So I would welcome, on this point, I would like to welcome Mridula. Miss Mridula is joining us as a co-host today. Miss Mridula?
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Yeah, good evening. Yes, the floor is all yours, Ms. Mridula. You can introduce yourself and you can introduce the first speaker to take over the charge. So the floor is open, and today's summary. Yeah, I'm sorry. Today, Dr. Kavita ma'am, Dr. Vasanti Reena Williams ma'am, and Dr. Tanuja ma'am will be doing the summary for us. Of course, I'll be doing the overall whenever it's needed. Thank you so much. On that note, we open the forum for our respected, esteemed speaker delegates who have joined us on this platform. With due respects to them, we are opening the floor to them. Thank you. Over to Mridula.
Hello, my dear speakers. I am your host today. Myself, Mridula from Srividhya Engineering College, India. Let's welcome our first speaker of the day. I warmly welcome Mrs. Mona Savan, a leading expert and international trainer in bridging innovation and professional development. She is globally recognized speaker, IIU Education Ambassador, and a passionate mental health advocate. Her vision for driving transformation in education continues to inspire us all. Today, she will be sharing her insights on how CCFF can support vulnerable nations in reducing both economic and non-economic loss and damage caused by climate change. She will also touch on key strategies such as leveraging private sector investments, prioritizing high relevance programs, enhancing community resilience, and the challenges that come with them. Ms. Mona, we are truly honored to have you. Please take over and share your insights, ma'am.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Today we'll be discussing a critical issue in the climate change discourse, loss and damage. This concept represents the irreversible and unavoidable impacts of climate change that go beyond what mitigation and adaptation can address. It's not just an environmental issue, it's a moral imperative, especially for vulnerable communities. So let's dive into what this means and why it demands urgent actions. So loss and damage refers to the severe effects of climate change that occur in a world where mitigation and adaptation efforts fall short. For example, Action Aid defines it as effects that wouldn't happen in a climate-stable world and cannot be adapted to. The United FCCC emphasizes its disproportionate impact on developing countries. Think of coastal villages submerged by rising seas. No seawall can bring back their homes. This is loss and damage. Adaptation has limits. When a farmer's crops repeatedly fail due to the droughts or communities' water sources dry up permanently, they have hit a hard limit. No adaptation strategy can reverse this. Scholars like Doe describe this as the point where risks become unbearable. These limits are why loss and damage requires separate attention beyond. So adaptation has limits. When a farmer's crops repeatedly fail due to droughts or communities' water source dry up permanently, they have hit a hard limit. It's the same. Okay. Okay. So the impact of a climate change that people cannot cope with or adapt to Warner and Van Geest 2013, the point at which an actor's objectives cannot be secured from intolerable risk through adaptive actions. So let's clarify terms. Loss is irreversible, like extinct species. Damage is repairable, like a flooded road. Hard limits mean no adaptation is possible. Example, sinking islands, where soft limits reflect lack of resources or technology. Also, some losses are economic, like crops, infrastructures, but others, like cultural traditions, are non-economic yet equally devastating. So economic impacts are tangible. Picture factories destroyed by hurricanes or farmers losing entire harvests. These losses are quantifiable but often ignore deeper vulnerabilities. For instance, a destroyed road isn't just a cost. It cuts off access to hospitals, schools, compounding the crisis. So here's the problem. Markets cannot measure what matters most. How do you price the loss of ancestral land or traditional knowledge? Morrissey and Oliver Smith argued that market-based tools ignore these invisible losses, leading to inadequate responses. This is why qualitative stories from affected communities are essential. Non-economic losses are the heartbreak of climate change. Lives lost to heat waves, indigenous traditions wiped out, ecosystems collapsing. These defy dollar values. As the slide says, we need new answers. For example, how do we compensate a community for the spiritual loss of a sacred forest? The traction in United Nations took over decades. The Warsaw Mechanism 2013 was a breakthrough. It's formally recognized loss and damage as a pillar of climate action. But the progress is slow. Vulnerable nations are still fighting for compensation, while richer countries resist liability. So to him, he aims to fill gaps like addressing slow onset disasters, example desertification and non-economic losses, but it's underfunded and lacks enforcement power. For example, its expert group on non-economic losses had limited influence over actual policies. Research across 9 countries revealed stark patterns. In Bangladesh, farmers sell assets to survive floods, a short-term fix that worsens long-term poverty. This is erosive adaptation. Elsewhere, hard limits are reached, like Pacific Islands relocating entire communities. So avoiding loss and damage, mitigation, adaptation, risk management, sustainable development, addressing residual loss and damage, risk management, risk transfer, risk retention, relief and reconstruction. So we can't eliminate all loss and damage, but we can manage risks. Insurance helps, but who pays premiums for the poorest? Micro-insurance and regional risk pools are promising. Beyond finance, we need policies supporting migration as an adaptation strategy, like visa protections for climate refugees. the challenges abound. How do we prove climate change caused a specific disaster? Data is sparse in vulnerable regions and indirect impacts. Example, mental health are overlooked. Without solving these, justice remain elusive. So in closing, loss and damage is the stark reality of climate injustice. It's about lives, cultures, ecosystems pushed beyond the breaking point. More responsibility depends action, finance, technology, transfer, and policy innovation. So the question isn't just how, but when. Thank you for listening. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mona. That was really indeed a wonderful presentation where you almost covered all the points. I don't know what others are going to speak about. Well, I like what's the key takeaways from yours is the ethical framework that you were mentioning about emphasizing the importance of maximizing the overall well-being of minimizing the harm. And this framework, as it focuses on the importance of the moral rules and duties and the moral imperative to act in accordance with these principles without compromising on the, what I would say, ethics, that is virtual ethics, which emphasize the importance of character traits as guiding actions and decisions which are going to be taken, not only as an individual, but also as the groups which are involved, and highlighting on the potential consequences of the action and the inaction when it comes to the losses that we are talking about, the climate-related events, slow onset events, and climatic change impacts, everything. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mona. Quite comprehensive, in detail, where the inputs have really covered overall. Sorry, we could not go in detail. Of course, there were quite a lot of things to discuss in detail. We do accept and we do agree with you. But since we have very less time and many speakers are waiting, so let's hear from them. And towards the end, again, we'll go back to your takeaways. Thank you, Ms. Mona. It was always a pleasure working with you. And it's wonderful having you here amidst us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, over to Ms. Mridula to welcome our next speaker, Dr. Elena Boswick.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Good day.
Dr. Elena, Ms. Mona will welcome you first, and then we can. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation. Good morning, good day, evening, respected Srividhya Sukumar, scientists, university professors, experts in the world, ladies and gentlemen. I special thanks for invitation, Dr. Sukumar to Srividhya Sukumar to be guest speaker, and I send my warm regards to the organizer of this important topic, loss damage is time to act. I will start my short lecture with the sentence, knowledge made choice in life. Nothing great will be achieved without great people, and the person is great, and the determinant to become one shall the goal. In order to understanding today topic on international conference, multi-transdisciplinary knowledge is needed through teamwork of scientific experts, etc. It is especially important to include doctoral students at universities for this important topic because youth bring new idea. Reason of the natural light by which a person understandings, preserve, understand, comprehend, illuminate the world around him. A scientist and philosopher of science use a natural light of his reason to find out the truth about himself and the world. Knowledge of science will give a better understanding of nature around the use functioning of man, individual, and environment. On this occasion, I address you all because you understand what is science and education. This implies continuous learning and improvement. the adaptation, the ability to apply new knowledge, value, acquisition of skills, etc. Individual firmly integrated into society. My topic today, impact of climate change on population health. I speak my lecture without presentation. In the past decades, climate change has been impacting human life and health via extreme weather and climate events and alternation in labor capacity, food security and prevalence, and geographical distribution of infectious diseases across the globe. Climate change and health indicator abbreviation CCHIs are portable tools designated to capture the complex set independent interaction through which climate change is affecting human health. Since 2015, innovative subset of CCHEs focusing on climate change impact exposure and volatility indicator has been developed, renovated, and integrated by working group. One on the Lancet countdown. Lancet is a interesting British journal tracking progress on health and climate change and international collaboration across disciplines that include climate geography, epidemiology, occupational health, and economy. Climate change poses a serious challenge in our health and well-being. The increasing frequency of extreme weather events such as flood, drought, and heat wave, and as well as the direct impact of temperature change, have a direct impact on health. At the same time, broader environment changes are affecting the risk of infection diseases and pollution and other forms of explosion. It's very interesting. My lecture is founded project study financing in the Belgrade Metropolitan University. Summary lecture, description, results, and the conclusion. Crucially, in my lecture, environment, human population health, indicators, climate change scenario included and change in distribution of infections, diseases with warming and change in outbreaks associated with weather extreme events. After floods, increased cases of leptospirosis, Campylobacter infection, and cryosporidosis are reported. Global warming affects water heating, raising the transmission of waterborne pathogens. Pathogen transmission by vector are particularly sensitive to climate change. They spend a good part of their life cycle, blood, host invertebrate. Interesting last years, pandemic coronavirus in the world, Nile virus, Zika virus, etc. Temperature, global average surface temperature increased by 0.6 Celsius. Celsius in problem change in intensity, frequency, and duration tropical cyclone and activity in increased extreme water level likely good. Water and climate however, dispute occur locality, the need also feedback their climate and geochemistry. Agriculture and water research is a big problem. Agriculture security food affect extreme events. Difference another immunological reaction. Climate change and infectious diseases, mosquitoes, vector-borne diseases, mosquitoes, malaria, much diseases and mosquitoes factor. In the vector-borne diseases and ticks population, Iodis, retinicity, etc. Conclusion, my lecture. The global change that we are currently experiencing haven't happened before. They include global climate change and variability change or composition of the atmosphere, use, surface expansion on agricultural land, and deforestation. Other change include an extension and enhanced rural areas. Is a future problem climate change, health, much diseases, special public health. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for attention. Thank you very much, invitation, dear colleague. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alina. That was quite comprehensive. I know, since you have talked about the climatic implications and affectations, only thing is, which we could take from you, the insight is that the ecosystem disruption. So the climatic-driven ecosystem, which we are all living in our planet. If we don't control this climatic mitigation process, if you're not going to control this global warming, it can lead to the loss of carbon sinks, such as forests, and release the stored carbon into the atmosphere, which is going to be a biggest threat. We do agree with you on that. And also, leading it to who are the ones who are creating it is definitely we, the planet. So the human mitigation and the conflict which is there, as the migration of the conflict can lead to the increased greenhouse gas emissions from human activities and with the use of fossil fuels and the energy transportation, etc. So definitely we will take more care on this. We should. And the potential for the loss of damage can definitely exacerbate the global warming with the key highlights as an urgent need of the mitigation adaptation efforts to reduce the green gas emissions and build resilience to the climate-related impacts. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much. Thanks for those insights. It is always a great honor and privilege.
Thank you very much.
And we would always love to work with you. Thank you so much. And more to catch up with you towards the end when we summarize the whole thing in jam sessions. Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next we'll be welcoming Ms. Neha Bain. I would request Mridula to welcome Ms. Neha as the next speaker. Thank you, Mridula. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm delighted to introduce Ms. Neha Bain from the Royal American School, Abu Dhabi, with 8 years of experience as an HR professional and the past 4 years as an educator. She brings a unique blend of real-world insight and academic excellence. As a mathematics expert, ma'am has skillfully integrated analytical thinking and problem-solving into climate education, empowering learners with both quantitative skills and climate-conscious mindset. Today, she will address the adverse effect of loss and damage resulting from climate-induced disasters such as sea level rise, extreme weather events, and prolonged droughts. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes.
Good evening, all the esteemed guests for today's session, and thank you so much for inviting me for today's session to talk about the loss and damage in context of the climate change. As I have already been introduced, that I have been working as an HR professional on my technical expertise side, and for the last 4 years I have been into education, and this climate change or climate action has probably come into my bloods when I have moved into the education industry, working with the younger minds, working with the younger generation, and telling them about the impacts of the climate issues which is prevailing right now, and focusing on that how we can change their mindsets related to this important thing, which is the need of the hour. It is not only about just learning in the schools, but learning beyond that, so that they can become more responsible citizens of whatever the country they belong to. So if we talk about loss and damage, I think Mona has clearly shown about it, that loss and damage is concerned with the unavoidable and irreversible impacts of the climate crisis. And it was a 2023 analysis which was being found that from 2000 and 2019, the world suffered at least $2.8 trillion in loss and damage from climate change, costing around $16 million per hour. So we can analyze the impact of loss and damage. That I think now, if it is not the time right now, then we will be losing more, and probably some sort of figures, because currently we are in 2025. So similar sort of figures will be shown if we cannot take the conscious decisions and the conscious efforts right now. So, considering the fact that loss and damage can be economical, can be non-economical. Economical loss and damage is always related to quantifiable matters. Non-economical loss and damage is always considered in terms of health, psychological impacts, and everything. So, just as because we are talking around this loss and damage in context of the climate change, it came to me an example that we are living in that world wherein in one parts of the world there's a peace, and in another parts of the world there are still wars going on. And if we consider that loss and damage from that perspective, I think the figures will be more than what we are discussing right now. We can see that there are war zone areas wherein there is tremendous loss and damage happening in, be it environmental, be it social, be it economical, be it psychological. And if right now I am not questioning, but probably I want to know about the figures. But if we think on those matters of fact, that can we find out the data on the loss and damage currently happening around the world? I'm sure that probably we cannot find that. But that is the important issue with loss and damage policy currently. So these are the real life examples. If we talk about in terms of loss and damage in 2022, over 33 million people were affected, more than 1,700 deaths, and $30 billion in economic losses have been reported because of the floods which was happening in Pakistan in 2022. And it causes an unprecedented monsoon rains exacerbated by the climate change. And the consequences of it was that there was large scale displacement, loss of agricultural lands, and increase in poverty. And when it was being depicted, the in-depth analysis, it has caused nearly about destruction of 2 million homes and caused outbreaks of waterborne diseases such as cholera. And the economic recovery is estimated to take years, with an international aid being a crucial factor in rebuilding efforts. Similarly, if we talk about Tuvalu and small islands nations, it was an impact which was being held in because of the sea level rise. The impact was a loss of habitat land, saltwater intrusion in the freshwater sources, and forced mitigation. And the cause was that there was melting polar ice caps and thermal expansion of oceans. The consequences were that it was the risk for the entire nations becoming uninhabitable, loss of cultural identity under non-economic losses. And in-depth analysis, it was revealed that Tuvalu and Kiribati have initiated plans to relocate their populations, mitigating to New Zealand and Australia. Rising sea levels also threaten their existence. Tourism dependent economies leading to financial distress. There is another case which was in 2021, which was Horn of Africa, drought and famine. It impacted nearly about 20 million people facing acute food insecurity, and the causes were recurrent droughts linked to the climate change, disrupting rainfall patterns. And consequences was, of course, a humanitarian crisis with malnutrition and mass mitigation. And the in-depth analysis, it causes devastated agriculture, forcing people to abandon their homes in search of food and water. And international aid agencies are still struggling to keep up with the growing demand for assistance. So, I mean to say that loss and damage is already happening, and the natural ecosystems are already being devastated. We can see that changes in the polar ice caps, mountains near to the mountains and equators, widespread loss and damage is being experienced through water-related extremes, and it is also impacting our water availability and food production. So currently, half of the world population lives with the severe water scarcity for at least 1 month of the year. The agriculture sector is particularly vulnerable to the water-related loss and damage, with drought and floods causing losses in the yields. And this can be prevalent probably in India, probably once the monsoons will start. We can see that every year loss and damage is happening in the coastal parts of the India. And every year the same thing is like people are migrating to the other places. But if we talk about the data, that in terms of the data, that is there any data available that how much loss has been incurred and how they are being supported after once the monsoons are over? Still there is a question mark on it. So if we talk about the impact on the health and well-being, of course, in the areas with low adaptive capacity, such as places without adequate water and sanitation, infrastructure, climate impacts, they cause great losses in the health and the life. Heat waves and wildfires have increased mortality and morbidity with vulnerable groups such as outdoor laborers, pregnant women, elderly people, and those with chronic healthcare conditions facing more severe impacts. And as the climate warms, there are negative impacts on mental health, including trauma experienced through climate extremes, as well as loss of livelihood and culture. And if we talk about in cities, it is not only limited that where the cities are growing up or the infrastructure is building, they are also having loss and damage at their own levels. The people who are living in informal settlements bear the brunt of the climate impacts in cities and are deprived of adaptation investments that could reduce future loss and damage. And in cities, observed climate impacts cause cascading and compounding impacts, disrupting services and damaging the infrastructure. So these are some of the statistical data. I will not go into detail, but because there are some other speakers as well whom the time limit has to be given. So just a little bit of the data that as per the global economic impact between 2010 and 2019, the extreme weather events resulted in approximately $1.5 trillion in economic losses, a significant increase from $184 billion in the 1970s. So how much the gap has been there. And in European Union from 1980 to 2023, weather and climate related extremes caused asset losses estimated 738 billion euros with over 162 billion euros, means it was 22% occurring between 2021 and 2023. And in 2022, the climate-related disaster triggered over 3.26 million internal displacements. So the damage has already been happening. It has happened. And there is a risk also to the future loss and damage, which is expected to increase because there is a policy, loss and damage policy, but the amount of work and the amount of analysis that needs to be done is relatively lower at the pace from which it is causing a damage. So if I talk about the key issues for the loss and damage policy, for both economic and non-economic loss and damage, there is no systematic risk assessment. It is very rare. Vulnerable countries, they lack comprehensive data on economic and non-economic loss and damage, hampering effective risk management. There is a need to critically reflect on the measures used to assess the loss and damage as the number of the people affected by droughts, floods, and storms as a percentage of the total population. And per hazard event points to the disproportionate suffering of most vulnerable countries. And financial constraints are key determinants of adaptation limits in human systems, particularly in low-income settings. So how we can minimize and address the loss and damage? There are three key, probably essential steps. The first one is to limit the loss and damage. Mitigation is essential to reduce the level of warming. All emissions avoided will contribute to averting loss and damage. This is particularly urgent as every degree of increased average temperature will have exponential impacts. Secondly, a transformative-led adaptation is critical to effectively cope up with the consequences of the climate change and minimize the compounding risks. And the third is equitable social economic development is emphasized as a solution for reducing the potential for loss and damage. And of course, the support from the international community, which is very essential to pay the cost from both adaptation and loss and damage. So this is a reference model which has been taken from the UN website, wherein they have indicated the loss and damage indicators which need to be costed. But as of now, the progress in this is limited. COP27 marked a turning point in the climate justice as countries agreed on the creation of the specific loss and damage fund. Measuring costs related to adaptation and loss and damage and determining who should pay for their human-induced share is key but complex exercise. Currently, there is no universally accepted framework to quantify these costs and determine fair sharing mechanisms among the nations. So this is the work where it needs more of analysis, more of research, or more of the work so that a quantifiable effort can be done, that what needs to be done in terms of the loss and damage policies and their implications. I hope everybody got some valuable insights from today's topic, which was assigned to me on loss and damage related to the climate change. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Neha. I think you have covered almost all the points. the key takeaway from you is not highlighting on the causes and the damage that is, we know that displacement, mitigation, loss of life, financial losses, damage to infrastructure, impacts on economic development, highlighting to COP28, and environmental impacts like loss of biodiversity, degradation, ecosystem services, and also some points highlighting on the human well-being and cohesion and cultural heritage. Everything has been taken well noted. Thank you so much. But the key takeaway is the adaptation and the resilience point of it that you highlighted on building resilience to the climate-related events and the processes with the climatic risk management, with managing the climatic risk through early warning systems. That's the key takeaway, ma'am. Early warning systems, emergency preparedness, and the responses involved, with the loss and damage finances which are involved in it, providing support to the financial and address the loss and damage. International cooperation, which is a key note that has to be taken into consideration in terms of sharing best practices, awareness campaign, extending supports, funding, etc., etc. Thank you so much. It was wonderful. So may I request Mridula to welcome the next speaker. Thank you, Ms. Lekha. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It is my honor to introduce Dr. K.S. Divya. Starting her academic journey in 2009, through years of dedication and hard work, she now serves as the Deputy Dean at Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute. Now, ma'am will be addressing the crucial role of loss and damage in climate action, along with the financial and social responsibility requirements involved. Dr. Divya, we now invite you to take over and share your valuable insights, ma'am. Please, ma'am.
Hi, thanks for introducing me, Mridula. Just a second, I'll just share my PPT. Is it sharing? Is my screen is getting shared?
Yes, ma'am. You can continue.
Okay, fine. So, good evening, everyone. Today I'll be presenting on the topic that's gaining a lot of global attention, loss and damage in the context of climate change. So, most of the time when we talk about climate change, we focus on two things: mitigation, like cutting emissions, and about adaptation, so which means adjusting to changes. But there is a third equally important part: the actual losses and irreversible damages happening now, especially in vulnerable countries. So these losses go beyond what can be fixed with adaptation, and that's what I want to explore with you all today. So what is loss and damage, first of all? The loss and damage refers to the impact of climate change that are either already happening or unavoidable, no matter how much we reduce emission or try to adapt. It's divided into two categories. So the first one is we have economic losses. So like when floods destroy the buildings, farms or roads. So these are all measurable in money. And the second one is we have non-economic losses. So this is really hard to quantify, but equally painful, like loss of culture, lives, health, biodiversity, or even communities' identity. The key point is that these damages occur because climate change has already gone too far in some places. So we are not talking about what might happen, but what is already happening and in many cases can't be reversed. So the example of loss and damage, to make this real, let's look at a few examples from around the world. In small island nations like the Maldives, sea level rise is literally swallowing up the land. So that's land people have lived on for generations and lost forever. In Bangladesh, repeated cyclones not only destroy homes, but leave people with nothing to return to. In Africa, prolonged droughts are killing crops, livestock, and entire ways of life. Even in developed countries, wildfire in California or floods in Germany have shown us that no one is immune, although the poorest suffer the most. So these are not temporary damages, they are lasting or even permanent. So why it matters so much? So why should the global community care so much about loss or damage? Well, climate change doesn't affect everyone equally. Often it's the least responsible countries, those that emitted the least carbon, that are facing the worst impacts. Imagine a country that has contributed less than 1% of global emissions, but is now facing billions in losses because of floods and droughts. This raises issues of climate justice. It's not just about the environment, it's about equity, fairness, and responsibility. Richer countries have more resource to cope, while poorer nations are left to pick up the pieces, often without any help. So, to deal with this growing problem, different mechanisms have been proposed. So, some involve climate risk insurance, especially for farmers and coastal communities who face regular climate disasters. These are regional funds and global financial tools being developed to offer emergency relief and rebuilding support. So another focus is on technical support, helping countries prepare for, respond to, and document the impacts of climate-related events. But despite these mechanisms, there is a gap between what is needed and what is actually available, especially for countries without a strong economy or political leverage. In 2013, the international community created the WASA International Mechanism, or WIM under the UNFCCC. This was the first big step to recognize loss and damage officially. The WIM has three main goals: improving understanding of what loss and damage actually includes, strengthening coordination among countries, experts, and communities, supporting developing countries to finance and capacity building. So, WIM is like a global framework that helps countries understand their vulnerabilities and seek solutions. But again, the major challenge has been translating this framework into real tangible action on the ground. In 2019, during COP25, the Santiago Network was created to provide more concrete help to countries facing loss and damage. Its main role is to act as a bridge between countries in need and organizations or experts who can help them. Think of it like a matchmaker. It connects those who are vulnerable with those who can provide technical support, research, and funding. While the idea is strong, there have been delays in implementation, and countries are still pushing to get it fully functional so that support reaches those who need it most. Now, a major breakthrough came during COP27 held in Egypt. After years of pressure, especially from developing nations and climate activists, the countries finally agreed to establish a dedicated loss and damage fund. This was a historic moment because it was the first time rich countries accepted the idea of compensating for the harm their emission have caused elsewhere. But the fight isn't over yet. There are still questions about who will contribute to this fund, how much, and how it will be managed. But at least now there is a foundation to build on. While the progress is encouraging, the road ahead is full of challenges. First, we need to secure sufficient and predictable funding for the new loss and damage fund. Then we have to decide how the money will be distributed. Will it go to the governments, local communities, or NGOs? Lastly, there's a problem of non-economic losses. How do you put a value on cultural loss, mental health impacts, or the death of an ecosystem? These are not just policy issues, they touch on ethics, governance, and even international diplomacy. So, this is where both political will and global cooperation become crucial. So, to conclude, loss and damage is not just a technical term, it's a reality for millions of people. It represents the final cost of climate inaction and inequality. By acknowledging loss and damage, the world is finally recognizing that climate justice isn't optional, it's essential. It's about saying, we hear you, we see your pain, and we will stand with you. Now it's time to turn those words into actions with fair policies, strong funding, and international solidarity. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope this session helped clarify why loss and damage is such a vital issue in the climate conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's well presented and it's really an eye-opening session for all of us, and it's highly informative. And you have very well explained how the loss and damage in the context of climate change is associated to the negative impacts of this climate change as go beyond the ability of communities, nations, ecosystems to adapt. So this topic, it gains prominence in the international climate negotiations, especially within the framework of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. It's really a complex issue, and the main key points for this is understanding the loss and damage, and also role of vulnerable communities and financial mechanisms. So adaptation of how this loss versus this damage, and this legal and ethical dimensions discussed about how the surrounding loss and damage is responsible for the cost of climate change impacts, and how should liability be determined. So finally, if you conclude that the issue of this loss and damage is really integral to this climate change debate, it encompasses this economic, ethical, and geopolitical complexities, and also it requires a balanced approach that not only it emphasizes the need for this financial support, but also it organizes this importance of adaptation and long-term solutions. So really, it's a very wonderful topic. Thank you so much, ma'am. Over to Lutala, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. We are pleased to welcome Dr. Anjum Nazir Qureshi from Rajiv Gandhi College of Engineering, Research and Technology, Chandrapur, India. She is a certified life coach, motivational speaker, and meditation trainer with deep expertise in IoT and AI technologies. With over 20 research papers, 4 patents, 52 articles, and 9 book chapters to her name, Dr. Qureshi has shared her insights as a speaker and trainer at more than 400 events, reaching nearly 500,000 people. Today, she will speak on the potential threats of food security and economic damage across various sectors as a result of climate change and related disasters. Dr. Qureshi, we now invite you to share your insights, ma'am.
Ma'am, you are muted.
The screen is visible. So, the presentation topic today, the future of loss and damages that will rise with increased global warming. So we know that the loss and damage is already happening, and the natural system is working hard, nearly hard levels, particularly at the poles, the mountains, and the plains. So widespread losses and damage is being experienced for water-related extremes, including droughts or floods that damage agricultural yields and cause losses to health. But there are risks for the future losses, and the damage is expected to increase in the near and midterm. So to get the increased global warming, loss and damage increases, and it becomes increasingly difficult to avoid, but remaining strongly concentrated and the poorest warming option. Global warming is causing changes. So when we are talking about already human-induced global warming of 1.1 degrees Celsius that has caused changes to the Earth's climate. So already with 1.1 degrees of global temperature rise, the changes to the climate system that are unfathomable over centuries to millennia are now occurring in every region of the world. From rising sea levels to more extreme weather events to rapidly disappearing sea ice. And additional warming will increase the magnitude of these changes, and every 0.5 degree of centigrade of global temperature rise, for example, will cause clearly discernible increases in the frequency and severity of heat extremes, heavy rainfall events, and regional droughts. Similarly, heat waves that on average, it was once every 10 years in climate with little human influence will likely occur 4.1 times more frequently. And 9.4 times with 4 degrees. And if this warming reaches under between 2 degrees and 3 degrees, the areas like the Western Antarctica and Greenland ice, they will melt, the sheet will start melting and almost completely at irreversibility over many thousands of years, causing sea levels to rise by several meters. Now, the climate change has slowed down improvements in agricultural productivity in the middle and the low latitudes, with crop productivity growth shrinking by third in Africa since 1961, and since 2008, extreme floods and storms have forced over 20 million from their homes every year. And every fraction of a degree of warming will intensify the stress, and even limiting global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees is not safe for all. And at this level of warming, for example, 950 million people across the world's dry lands will experience water stress, heat stress, and desertification, while the share of the global population exposed to flooding will rise by 24%. About the GHG emissions, yes, it is expected that we should be reducing GHG emissions. So the IPCC finds that there is more than 50% chance of global temperature rise. The global temperature rise will increase, and between 2027 and 2040, across studied scenarios and under the high emissions pathway. Specifically, the world may hit the threshold even sooner if we don't conclude this, and it will happen even before 2037. And changing course will limit global warming to 1.5 degrees with no or limited overshoot will instead require deep GHG reductions in the near term. So, if we try to this that we're having, because we don't have much time, so I would like to just list down the risk. So, the first one is the low-lying coastal region. So, there are severe risks to low-lying coastal coast involving irreversible long-term loss of land, critical ecosystem, livelihoods, well-being, or culture from increasing combined drivers, including climate hazards as well as exposure and vulnerability. So, with the population change, the low-lying cities are settlements, a billion people are projected to be at risk from the coastal specific climatic hazards under all warming scenarios in the midterm. So, within the century, the habitability of many coastal communities in developing and developed countries will be endangered by high warming, continued coastal development, and low adaptation rates. So, as they be sought in hard limits to adaptation, coastal communities will experience multiple forms of loss and damage. The second is regarding the administrator of the marine ecosystem. With the substantial loss of biodiversity is likely to, even with low warming levels, that will have severe impacts on livelihood, infrastructure, and ecosystem services. There will be certain ecosystem ecological events that are actually increasing in frequency, leading to biodiversity loss. The third risk is critical infrastructure and networks. So direct loss and damage to critical infrastructure and networks is projected to be very high. So indirect loss and damage to this infrastructure and networks will be severe in many contexts under high warming models, and there will be no additional adaptation. So the projected risk for damage to transport and energy infrastructure is expected to grow, and while there are projected losses to resources for electricity generation, there is also a high potential for adaptation and mitigation in the energy sector. The fourth risk lies with the leading strands. So the economic losses are expected to be severe globally and regionally, where there is high warming and minimal adaptation. So by 2050, economic losses in sub-Saharan Africa may be up to 80% of GDP. The potential risk from climate change to poverty rates may become severe. In South Asia alone, 35 to 7 million people could be pushed to extreme poverty by 2030, and Sub-Saharan Africa, 39.97 million people could fall into extreme poverty before the end of the decade. So, livelihoods will face severe losses and damage even at low warming levels, when there is high vulnerability and low adaptation. So this could result in enormous losses and damage, where about 62% of the population are currently employed in climate-sensitive sectors, as well as in South Asia, with 40% of the population are currently employed in agriculture. So the income inequality is expected to increase. Then, so the fifth risk is regarding the human health. This is the most important one. By 2050, projected climate change could lead to an excess of around 2.5 million deaths because of the heat. 94,000 primarily in Asia and the high-income countries. Childhood undernutrition, where 85,000 primarily in Africa and Asia. Due to malaria, 33,000 mainly in Africa, and diarrheal diseases, 33,000 primarily in Asia and Africa. And the global population is exposed to deadly health risks with rise from the current 30% to 48 to 74% at the end of the century. And under high warming scenarios, the risk of vector-borne diseases will be severe, especially for the children and in the sensitive regions. The risk for waterborne diseases will be very severe, particularly for the children in the lower and the middle income countries. The vulnerability is going to be very, very high. The sixth risk regarding the food security, the loss and damage to food security and food systems from climate change is wide-ranging. From impacts on food production to weather extremes disrupting food supply chains, nearly 200 million additional people will be expected to become undernourished by 2030. The decreases in the quality of food because of micronutrient deficiency will be severe risks without adaptation, with increased carbon dioxide levels. 3. In general, climate change impacts on food quality and availability are expected to result in approximately 54 deaths per million people under 2 degrees centigrade warming by 2050, primarily in South and East Asia. Predicted decreases the quantity of food from impacts on agriculture due to changes in water availability will be also very severe. In the fishing sector, climate-adjusted issue will emerge as a higher or latitude countries with higher GST emissions will likely benefit from the poor migrating resources from poor and low GST emitting tropical countries. The seventh is the water security. The 2 degrees centigrade of global warming, the number of people with chronic water scarcity is likely to increase from 800 million to 3 billion and up to 4 billion for 4 degrees centigrade of global warming. So it's starting at 3 degrees centigrade, water management measures are expected to reach high limits, resulting in decreased water quality and availability, as well as negative impacts on health and well-being, economic losses in water and energy-dependent sectors, and potential migration of communities. From health impacts alone, flood risk is anticipated to result in an additional 48,000 deaths of children under 15 because of diarrhea by 2030, particularly in the sub-Saharan Africa. The changes in water can lead to a loss of community cultures, including loss of areas of ice or snow with spiritual remains, loss of cultural importance, places of access to such areas, and loss of cultural important subsistence practices. The eighth and the last risk is the peace. So it is very important because risk to peace will increase with warming, particularly in communities with low resilience to climate change. With 4 degrees centigrade warming levels, it is predicted that this will have severe and widespread effects on armed conflicts and the current societal condition. So mobility-related risks will increase with warming, particularly for densely populated hazard-prone regions, small islands, and low-lying coastal zones, and their populations have limited coping capacities. For instance, global levels of food displacements are estimated to increase by 50% with every 1 degree centigrade of warming. So without sufficient adaptation, even moderate sea level rise will increase involuntary migration and displacement from small islands and densely populated low-lying coastal regions. So with this, I come to the conclusion that digital loss and damage arising from the climate crisis is an urgent global challenge. It requires commitment for action at all levels from communities to cities, allied nations, and at the global level. So the observed loss and damage in this, or future losses and damage, must be translated into actions to avert and minimize and address loss and damage and create a pathway towards transformative climate resilience. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anju ma'am. That was a wonderful presentation indeed. I would like to hear from Kavita ma'am first, and then I will take over.
Yeah.
Yes, Kavita ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Krishi ma'am. It's really a wonderful presentation, and so you have well explained about the human-induced global warming of how it is 1.1 degrees Celsius has spurred the changes to the Earth's climate that are unprecedented in this human history. Well explained, and also you have the way you have given about the points that is climate impacts on the people and ecosystems, or it is more widespread than the expected, and future risk will escalate rapidly with every fraction of degree of warming. It's really well explained, ma'am. Thank you. And also the points you have given as how this 2 degrees Celsius of this global warming, this number of people have with a chronic water scarcity, they are likely to increase with 800 million to 3 billion. And this 4 billion for 4 degrees Celsius global warming. So really it's a wonderful explanation about this global warming. And one more thing I want to express is the last point is reducing loss and damage arising from the climate crisis on urgent global challenge, requiring this commitment to action for all the levels from communities to cities and the national and global level. Thank you so much, ma'am. It's a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kavita ma'am. Anju Qureshi ma'am, you have just nailed it. I would say that. because as we are talking about the feedbacks that you have got, the three major points is in the whole summary, the thawing permafrost, that is what is called. That is, as the permafrost thaws, it releases methane in the air. That's a very big risk that we need to highlight. And definitely you have neared that point with the potent greenhouse gas emission, which accelerates the global warming. And when it comes to the Arctic zones amplification, when the ice melts, it reduces the Earth's albedo, definitely, allowing more solar radiation to be absorbed. And this also amplifies the global warming. And last but not the least, the crystallization process, when the water vapor feedback, as the temperature rises, more water evaporates and leading to the increased atmospheric water vapor, which traps the heat and accelerates the global warming. And not missing in the count or not missing in the note that the cascading effects of ecosystem disruption and the tipping points of the melting glaciers and the ice sheets and the coral reefs, and which can trigger the abrupt, irreversible changes and accelerate the global warming. And last but not the least, who are victimized? The humans are victimized, right? So that also you have taken it to your mention, definitely. We will all put our hands together to control this, definitely taking into account of all these points. There are a few more which I would like to add, but since there are more speakers who are waiting, we will take it up in the jam session, definitely. Thank you, ma'am. Commendable effort. Thank you. Thank you so much. You have covered almost all the points. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Over to Ms. Mridula to welcome the next speaker.
I am pleased to welcome Dr. Vasanthi Reena Williams from Vidya Vikas Institute of Engineering and Technology, Mysore, India. With a distinguished career in academia, research and administration spanning over 3 decades, she has made remarkable contributions to the field of education and leadership. A recipient of several prestigious honors, including the NIPEM National HR Excellence Award finalist and Best Management Education Leadership Award, she brings both depth and experience to today's discussion. Now she will address the negative impacts of climate change, focusing on its far-reaching effects on key macro factors such as the economy, society, businesses, and industry. Dr. Vasanthi, the virtual stage is yours, ma'am.
Very good evening. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, Mridula, for your kind words. And my study is trying to attempt to explore the loss and damage negative. All the speakers have already spoken about the effects of the loss and damage that is happening, and how it is a moral responsibility on all of us to ensure that we mitigate this to a great I'm not able to see my slide to change it.
I think it is changing, ma'am.
Is it changing?
It is changing, actually. Maybe you'll have to...
Yes, now it's changing.
Now
I can see.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, I would like to take it forward this way. After listening to what most of the speakers have spoken now, I am taking a different stand now. I will not take it directly this way, but probably through storytelling. So I'm taking a protagonist, Vijay, a farmer in a village in Karnataka, and the village is situated in the banks of River Kaveri. And this village is very close to Mysore because I said River Kaveri, so it's a place called Mandya. And this place is basically where rice is grown it's the rice basin. And since they have this water facility, or since it is situated, the village is situated in the banks of this river, it's always been profitable for the villages, and since you can say for a lot of generations. And Vijay is growing paddy, sugarcane, and he also has a mango farm. This is generally what people there grow. Now, what we see since the year 2023. There was, it's not that it happened just in 2023, it has been happening, but in the year 2023, there was a, outburst because there was less rains that made the climate excessively very humid. And I just went through
a lot of news reports from across the globe, and also a lot of literature review before I prepared this. So, what has happened is it also it affected the harvesting. That is, the production went down, and it also affected flowering in mango trees, leading to low production that year. Following this, let's say Vijay, he decided to grow tomatoes, plantains, and sugarcane. But then what happened was there was insistent rain, so much of rains that the crops all got damaged. Now, why I thought of Vijay or this protagonist is because we were talking, I was listening to the other speakers, and all of them were really focusing on areas where it is affecting. So people, and how climate mitigation is, the change in climate is affecting people basically in the coastal areas, but it is also affecting people in the inland areas as well. So this is what I'm looking. You can see this. I'm talking about farmer crisis. So it is not only Vijay, but majority of the inmates of this village who are facing this. And as I understand, because we have students who stay in these villages who come and seek education, the farmers do not want their children to take up farming. They want them to. They feel that this is a very high risk profession, and their children should be working in corporates or something else other than farming. So this is about the farmer crisis. Now, coming to the soil erosion, say around 4 years ago, just during this the end of the pandemic, at that time, I had done a study on it was just almost the end of the pandemic, lockdown period. So I did a study on understanding the mindset of farmers towards the modern and traditional farming. That was because I observed that more and more people across the globe were becoming more health conscious, maybe because of the mass number of deaths that we were witnessing on television and so on. So people were thinking of more focused on health. I observed yoga. I observed organic food, home cooked food, salads, that kind of food, and the intermittent fasting. All these things, it started progressing more after the pandemic. So keeping that as a cue, I took that study, and I was assisted by one of my students who also stays. So I chose a village that had close proximity to Mysore city, because Mysore is a semi-urban place, I can say, but still it has a lot of connect to Bangalore, which is the capital of Karnataka state, and a lot of technology, awareness about technology is present. So I chose respondents who were staying in the border area, so that I presume that they have a connect and they have awareness about technology and so on. So the objective was to ensure, that was my main objective, okay, that they had awareness. So being in touch with the mainstream, the objective was, whether they are using following organic farming practices and or not, So this was what I tried to follow up. And now coming to the findings, majority of the farmers were of the opinion that traditional farming is the best. But then, they said that due to these unseasonal rains and the shifting of weather patterns, now before I take it further, I need to mention here, because we have people from other than India, the farmers in India follow a traditional calendar. It is called the Panchangam, or the Indian Almanac, you can say. Okay, so this Panchangam or the Indian Almanac contains dates and, when it rains, dates on which you'll have an eclipse and so on, even the auspicious days, all that will be mentioned in the almanac. So they usually follow this. The farmers usually follow this almanac to identify which day is, when it is going to rain, because usually those dates are very, very precise, and it almost happens on the same day. They were, according to the study, the response that I received, they were saying that there's a mismatch happening there. And some crops require to you need to sow as soon as the first rains come, within 3 days of the rains, and they have some calculations like that. And they say that because of this mismatch, they have to they are unprepared, and then they have to rely on the modern systems of tilling and all that, even chemicals also to be used for growing crops, so that they get proper harvest. And they're saying that this is helping, not at all helping them sustain that land. They're saying that even labor is not available when they need it immediately, because earlier people would be prepared, and they know next month this time this is going to happen, so this is what they would do. But now they're mentioning that both using tillers is not good for the soil, and also chemicals. They mentioned that the quality of soil is not rich, and they have to continue using chemicals to ensure a good harvest. So that is about the soil erosion happening. And then the part C, supply chain and inventory. Here, when these raw materials sourced, I'm just connecting, okay? So when the raw materials sourced from farms do not reach the industries in sufficient quantities, the production gets affected. And this supply chain gets affected, leading to a deficient supply of raw materials. And then again, that is linked to increase in cost of production, which in turn at the macro level affects the population. That is the economic, social, and businesses, industries, all that gets affected. So therefore, with the increase in this global warming, there is bound to be increase in losses and damage to crops, which will in turn affect the farming community. Now I'm going to so this is basically what overall study that I just wanted to present my findings. Now of the studies that I did, I found these two studies that you can see on the screen very promising. Almost all the studies had similar findings. The first one done by Dr. Harshad Prajapati and his team. Here he speaks about climate change not only affecting crops but it also affects shifts in pest and disease dynamics. And he suggested strategies by researchers which include crop diversification, water management, so on. The same thing has been mentioned by Yuan and his team. But here, interestingly, he has not just given suggestions, but he has also, provided solutions to, helping this out. He talks about, so this is what his suggestion is. So he says that he talks about three types of solutions. One is a short-term solution, a mid-term solution, and a long-term solution. So he's talking about smart agriculture management, innovative agriculture solutions, and adaptive management strategies, which he suggests could help in mitigating these losses. And see, these are some of the images that you can see about the unseasonal rains and shifting weather patterns that is affecting farmers, and which directly or indirectly affects us also. Not only the farmers, but it affects us. As I mentioned, macro level, it affects. And so not only because of insistent rains, but even because of humidity, it affects crops. This is an image of the Panchangam I was mentioning. This is for the benefit of those who are not very familiar with the Indian system. This is followed across India by all farmers. This is how our calendar is, not generally with numbers, but it contains a lot of information. Yeah, these are, as I said, I went through a lot of reports as well. And this is one report which happened in Telangana, where crops were damaged. Over 20,000 acres was affected. And as you can see, these are papaya trees which are damaged, with the papaya, the fruit all fallen. So you can imagine how it must have affected the farmers. And see, this is another one. This is from not from India, but from across the globe, which I have collected. And here also it is mentioned how drought and climate change, 10% of 2022 crops were lost. And then here, this is about the global climate change impact on crops expected within 10 years. NASA did this study, and they predict that there will be a decrease in corn yield as projected to occur in 2071 if we continue to be the same way. And southern Brazil is a farmer on the front line of climate crisis also speak about the same thing. So these are the references that I used, the important references that I used when I thought I should put across to you. So these are, with the speakers present here, born before 2000, would be able to relate when I say that, earlier every house had a small garden patch. A small kitchen garden was made available. But however, now all that seems to be disappearing. Everybody wants a house which has more spacious rooms leading to cemented areas around the house. So those interested in gardening keep potted plants, but you don't find, plants and trees around, which is another reason. Children are unaware about how fruits are grown, crops are harvested, except in movies or, through videos. So when that change is happening, just discussions might not suffice. I think it is a serious concern when each one of us have to put in our bit to save the planet for our future generations. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the platform provided and patient listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vasudha Williams. You have really taken us way behind, and definitely these are very much required for people to know. And I would request you to stop sharing your screen.
Yes,
thank you, ma'am. Thank
yes.
you. So I will follow Kavita ma'am. Kavita ma'am, your inputs, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Vasante, ma'am, you have given a very, very good insights on this topic. As well said about the farmer crisis. That is, even though the farmers, they doesn't like their children to be to work in the farm, and they want to have this white collar jobs. It's well said. And also about the soil erosion, and also the micro factors about economic, social, for society, business, industries, and legal and cultural issues we have discussed. Is well presented, ma'am. And also, you have clearly given about all the three solutions: the long-term, short-term, and about all the solutions taken for this issues to solve these issues. And moreover, if you take the loss and damage, it causes this adverse impacts of this climate change that cannot be avoided through this mitigation or adaptation. So it includes both this economic losses, that is a destruction of this infrastructure, and also this non-economic losses, that is losses of lives, cultures, and biodiversity, especially affecting the vulnerable communities in developing the countries. And also, to take this moral imperative, the issue of this loss and damage is not only a matter of climate justice, but it is also a moral obligation. Whether the nations, they must have this historically contributed to most of this greenhouse gas emissions. It takes a great responsibility to support those who suffer the consequences, and we have to take care of this also. And the main key consideration is climate justice and financial support and global solidarity. So, coming to the conclusion, we can conclude that is addressing this loss and damage. It is a moral imperative rooted in the principles of equality, justice, and responsibility. And urgent and sustained action is also needed to support the affected communities and to uphold the ethical foundation of this global climate efforts. Moreover, the explanation is given there is unseasonal rain and shifting weather patterns also made the loss of nearly 20,000 damage of this papaya, and so it's a pathetic condition. So everyone must take serious action to save our Mother Earth. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Kavita ma'am. Well said and well summarized as such. Yes, Vasanthi William ma'am, your perspective of addressing the climate change has really created a different domain or different way that we look at things. In the sense, like, allow me to quote from Environmental Health Sciences. Ziska, an associate professor, what he had mentioned about this thing is that it is important to recognize the importance of agriculture on public health, from pesticide to the usage of water quality. And it is almost certainly going to be exacerbated with the climatic change. So, as you have rightly mentioned, the climatic change has a very broad-ranging impacts on agricultural practices, increasing the water use and the scarcity. It's paradoxical, but it is true. Increasing the water use, and also it increases the water scarcity as well, because the gases like nitrous oxide and methane emissions are really getting vulnerable day by day, which is leading to soil degradation, as you rightly mentioned, and nitrogen and phosphorus pollution. Pest pressure, pesticide pollution, and biodiversity loss, all these are catering, or the catalysts which are coming from different points. As such, and as you know, the climatic agriculture feedback and the pathways could dramatically increase agricultural greenhouse emissions. And without changes in agriculture, this feedback, which we are stressing on this point today with Vasantarina William Manga, cannot be possible. It's going to be nearly impossible to achieve the Paris Agreement goal of limiting the global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade Celsius to 2 degrees. Like, it's just going to be really not achievable at all. So to make it achievable, as ma'am has requested, she didn't even, like, she has quoted it with a genuine request there. The existing sustainable agricultural practices and technologies, or if they are implemented not only in one part of the country or not only in one corner of the world, let it be implemented worldwide in a wide scale, which will reduce this agricultural emissions and prevent a feedback loop on developing. So definitely, to achieve this, we are left at the mercies of governments, the policy makers, and the policy changes. The trailblazers must work to remove the social economic barriers and make climate resilient solutions accessible to all farmers and food producers. So, along with Vasantarina William, we also place this request on the court today on this platform through G20 International One Planet Cabinet. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, ma'am. It was really a wonderful presentation. Awesome indeed. Okay, may I request Ms. Mridula to welcome Mr. Zubair. Mr. Zubair has joined in late because he has got some net issues there, and he wants to leave fast as well. So we are skipping the order. I'm sorry. My due apologies to Premnath sir, and also the other speakers who are lined up, Purna Shri and Priya ma'am. With due apologies to everyone, please, may we request Mr. Mohammed Zubair.
I am delighted to introduce Mr. Mohammed Zubair, a lecturer in botany at Government Postgraduate College, Banu, Pakistan. Along his academic role, he is an active social activist, contributing to organizations such as Million Smiles, Youth Forum for Pakistan, and Bargat. He has represented his voices in numerous national and international conferences as both a speaker and a climate advocate. With a deep passion for environment conservation and climate action, Mr. Zubair will now speak on the impact of global warming across key sectors including agriculture, infrastructure, and human health. Mr. Zubair, please proceed with your presentation, sir.
You're muted. Mr. Zubair, you're muted.
Okay. Am I audible to you?
Yes.
Okay, greetings to all of you. This is Mohammed Zubair. I belong to Pakistan and I'm a lecturer. So my topic is about disasters and the losses due to climate change. So as we all know that climate change has very negative effects and it has very adverse effects on the biodiversity and like storms, floods, and there may be some other negative aspects. So how to overcome these changes and how to make sustainable development. So for this, we can use different strategies and remedies. As we know that here in Pakistan, mostly floods and the rainfall patterns are changed year after years. We can see that the agricultural pattern is also changed. For example, the wheat and other crops growing seasons is changed. Now we are observing a very hot season over here in April. But we know that in 2010 and 10 or 15 years ago, in March and April, we were using no fans, and here we have very cool environment and very cool and pleasant weather in March and April. But nowadays we are facing a very hot season and very heat shocks. So this is all due to climate change, and these are the negative aspects.
Mr. Zubair, your voice is not heard. Maybe you'll have to off the screen and speak. If your video is off, yeah. Can you try speaking now, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes. Please continue.
Yes. So we have different strategies. Like, for example, we should use public transport instead of private, as it will reduce the emission of greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide emissions, because these are the sources which can lead towards global warming and climate change. And we should use also renewable energy projects. We should purchase renewable energy substances, and by this we can reduce the pollution and we can reduce the greenhouse gases emissions. And the other thing is I want to share that we should use reduce, reuse, and recycle policy. That we should use reusable bags and containers instead of single-use plastic bags and containers. We have to opt reusable alternatives. So by this way, we can reduce the adverse effects of climate change. As we know that due to climate change, there are loss of biodiversity, and we are reducing the biodiversity in forests, in wildlife, mostly plants and animals. Like, for example, due to climate change, there are adverse effects of melting of glaciers, and due to the glaciers, we are losing the polar bears and some other animals, and mostly biodiversity. So to reduce these all effects, we should use and we should follow the forestation, afforestation, and reforestation activities, because due to loss of biodiversity, we can't use this biodiversity for human, and nature is our home, so we should save, we should protect and conserve this by using daily life activities. For example, to conserve water, like take shorter showers, reduce your showers time to conserve water and energy. And for example, we have to fix leaks, whenever we are using in daily life routine toilets, or to avoid wasting water, use water efficient appliances. So these all are very important for reducing climate change activities.
Thank you, Mr. Zubair.
Thank you.
It's quite thoughtful, and we definitely will make a note of exactly what you mentioned about how to conserve it. Yes. And household factor, like in well, these are also to be taken into account. Well, we are taking into consideration exactly what you mentioned. Moving ahead, thank you so much. Thanks for your participation. Maybe request Ms. Mridula to welcome the next speaker, please.
Dr.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. K. M. Priya is a respected academic and environmental advocate from Sri Ishwar College of Engineering. With a strong commitment to sustainability and climate action, she brings a wealth of knowledge in environmental science and engineering. Today, she will be speaking on the critical topic of loss and damage in the context of climate change, shedding light on the environment, social and economic impacts faced by vulnerable communities. Through her talk, she aims to highlight the importance of equitable solutions, strengthen resilience efforts, and encourage global collaboration to effectively address these climate changes. Let's hear from Dr. Priya's perspective. Please, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, Mridula. That was a very nice introduction about Dr. Priya. Dr. Priya, Dr. Priya.
Hello, ma'am. Yeah, I'm online, ma'am. I'm online. Thank you for your welcome, ma'am, Mridula, ma'am. Greetings of the day to everyone present here, ma'am. Am I audible to everyone, ma'am?
You are, ma'am. Kavita will do the summary for Dr. Priya, following which we'll be calling Purnashri, the student. Okay?
Can I proceed, ma'am?
Thank you. Please.
Yes. And it's a pleasure to be here today and to speak on this topic that is no longer just an academic concern, but it lives the reality for millions of years. That is, future losses and damages can rise with the increased global warming. It's really an important thing to be noted because let me begin with a simple question to the audience. What if your hometown disappeared underwater within your lifetime? This isn't a scientific fiction scenario. It is the real fear of people in countries like Maldives, Tuvalu, Bangladesh, where rising sea levels threaten to erase entire communities from the map. It's really a serious issue to be noted because global warming. We need not say that it is going to come. If you do this, it will come. We need not threaten people like this because it already exists. It is here. It is already here. And every fraction of a degree in temperature rise multiplies the cost we pay in human suffering, economic damage, and environmental degradation. Yes, of course, every advancement, I'm very sorry to say this, but every advancement in the field of science and technology, one step if we go forward, sometimes steps we are falling back, falling down. Because in the context of environmental changes and the destroys and damages happening to the human community. So let me share three powerful angles of this reality. So first and foremost thing is economic and infrastructure damage. So many advancements we are seeing every day. We are seeing through the technology. In 2023, Hurricane Otis struck Mexico with a shocking intensity, jumping from a tropical storm to a category of 5 hurricane in less than 24 hours. A phenomenon fueled by unusually warm ocean waters. Damage, can you imagine what the damage rate is? Over $15 billion in losses. Now imagine a scale of such disasters if temperature raised to 2 degrees Celsius or more than that. We are not just talking about hurricanes, it is also droughts wiping out harvest because one end of the country, one end of the world is facing flood and the other end is facing drought simultaneously. So it wipes up harvest, floods washing away the roads, and wildfires consuming the towns in Venezuela. Of course, these three are the raising issues: droughts, floods, and wildfires. This is one thing, first thing. And the second thing, what I'm going to tell you is non-economic irreplaceable losses. Have you ever seen the photos of this Great Barrier Reef running gas wipes from coral bleaching? It's not just beautiful marine life giant, it's a whole ecosystem collapsing. Also, traditional communities in the Arctic region are also losing their hunting grounds as the ice melts. Sea level rises because of the global warming in one area. Ice glaciers are also melting down. That is why the sea level is rising. So when the ice glaciers melt, the animals and the other living organisms in the area are also getting demolished. They are becoming extinct. These are the losses we can't rebuild with money. They're about identity, culture, and belonging. And another thing, when talking about this, I have to note the other thing also, culture. Because of this cultural changes also, we are updating ourselves every day. Like the cultural diversity is also there. Because of that, we are trying to uplift we are trying to develop our lifestyle. We are changing our lifestyle, and because of that, many things or many damages are caused for our future. We have to admit this. All of us, no discrimination, all of us have to agree this. And the next thing I have to talk about is humanitarian and social costs. That is, according to the World Bank, climate change could push over 100 million people into poverty by 2030. That is what it states. It's a shocking thing. We are talking about children missing school because their families were displaced by floods, parents walking in miles in search of clean water as droughts drying up the rivers. So all these are happening in one end or the other. We are in a sophisticated place and we are living our life. But in one place, or sometimes we listen to the news, like this is happening there, that is happening there, this type of crucial thing is happening. Like that, we'll be listening to the news, and for 1 day or 2 days, we would be thinking about it, and we think of changing our lifestyle also. Hereafter, at least we have to do this. Hereafter, at least we have to follow this. Like that, we'll try to take some resolutions. But in within 1 or 2 days or 1 week or 10 days, we'll be forgetting that. And of course, our life should move on, our business, our lifestyle. Everything wants us to get changed. That is our own lifestyle. We have to move on to our own lifestyle. So that is what. That is why we are not taking any steps for. We are not coming forward to change things, to set things right in their right position. So climate change is not just melting ice; it is breaking lives of many things, many organisms, many living beings. And some more surprising. It's not surprising, I should say. It's a shocking fact. Some more shocking facts, I should say. This by 2100, that is over 200 million people to be forced to leave due to rising sea areas. And this is one thing, of course, flood, as I told you earlier. Wildfires in Canada in 2023 were so massive, and it was like blanketing the cities in the US with smoke. A reminder that no country is immune. Whether it is US or UK or any great countries, any powerful and strong countries, no matter. Every country is prone to such dangers. So they have to be alert. It's a kind of a warning. Every time the nature itself is giving us a warning, but we are not taking it seriously. For some days we would be like feeling for it so much, we would be regretting for what has happened. But then we are not able to go back and change our lifestyle. We are always welcoming the changes that we are always like to move forward only, not backward. So the economic cost of inaction on climate change could be as high as $23 trillion globally by 2050. So everything is not so far; it is so close to us. So we have to see whatever danger people are predicting. The science is giving us. There is some hope. If we take immediate action, but all of this unanimously, like this SPG is really a wonderful thing, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. But it is not enough. Because very few people, whoever are there in that, members of that, they are aware of what are the ecological changes and environmental changes happening. But others, they are still unaware of this. They are just looking forward their life, upgrading their life. That is what they are seeing. So we have to create awareness among the people. That's what my concern is. We have science, innovation, and global cooperation on our side. And if we act now, that is immediate action, and double the time everyone should take some action, and only then we can save our Mother Earth. Investing in clean energy, creating climate resilient infrastructure, and supporting vulnerable nations. See, science and technology has improved a lot, and what not we can make out of it. Anything can be made, anything can be created and invented. So why not we create a climate resilient infrastructure? Why not we create an clean energy thing? And supporting vulnerable nations through climate finance. So everything we can change if we try. If you have there is a very old saying, where there is a will, there is a way. So if we want to do this change, definitely we can do it. So can reduce future loss and damage significantly. So we must also push for stronger climate justice. So those who suffer the most have done the least to cause this crisis. Of course, see, people who have done a lot for this type of damages, they are not getting suffered. I don't know why this inequality, even with the nature. The people who didn't do anything or who did a very less thing, they are suffering. Their suffering rate is higher. Okay, so this is not highly unfair. This is highly unfair. So a just climate response means recognizing this imbalance and working together across borders and sectors. And we have to fix it, of course. Somehow we have to fix it. Otherwise, the lives of the poor people are getting it is becoming a question mark. So, in conclusion, what I wanted to say is every delay increases the cost. We should not delay even for a minute. Immediate action. We should roll into action immediately, and only then this Mother Earth can be saved, and the lives of many of the human beings can be saved. Not only human beings, the other creatures also. So economically, ecologically, and emotionally, everything has to be saved. the choice is ours, of course. We have to ignore many of the people are ignoring the warning signs. That is, the nature is giving its warning in its own way. Every time it gives its warning. And we are staying as if we didn't understand anything. But if we sit and think, definitely we understand. And I think people who suffers a lot can understand these things. People who are like, I'm sorry to say this, who are in the like who are upper class or upper middle class, they don't understand until they get affected. So warning signs, and they take bold collective action now to secure a livable future. If we want a livable future, if we want to offer a livable future to our next generation, to our sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters, we have to take a bold action, and collectively we have to take bold actions, because one or two, if we take actions, it is of no use. No, I mean, it's a massive burden. So collective action is required. So let us be the generation that didn't just talk about the problem, but we could be like we have spoken about some problem, and we have taken some actions, and we have resolved it. Like that, at least our generation should be like that. That is what my concern is. And thank you all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Kavita, ma'am, I would appreciate if you could summarize the main takeaways from Dr. Priya's valuable words. Kavita, ma'am. Thank you for your powerful and insightful speech, ma'am. Your words were not only inspiring, but also a crucial wake-up call, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, let's move on to our next speaker. It is an absolute delight to introduce the youngest and one of the most passionate voices in today's gathering, Ms. Purnashree, a grade 9 student with a deep love for science. She stands out not just for her curiosity, but for her commitment to understanding and addressing the challenges of our time. Today, she will remind us how global temperatures rise, the more severe and widespread consequences will be. Her call for urgent action, not just for today, but to safeguard the future she and her peers will inherit. Let us welcome Ms. Purnashree with all our hearts as she inspires us to act, to care, and to change.
Good evening, one and all present here. I am Purnashree, studying in class 9 from Vivekananda Vidyalaya. I feel deeply honored to all the members for their continuous efforts toward the global peace and environmental protection. I am truly glad to be a part of this important conversation to follow an effective action plan to protect our precious earth. Today, we are going to discuss about the topic, future losses and damages will rise with increased global warming. So we are going to talk about the extreme weather events. So extreme weather events or intense weather patterns like heat waves, floods, drought, wildfire, often intensified by climate change. So how to control global warming by SDG? To control global warming, we can use the SDG climate action, which emphasizes reducing greenhouse gas emission through renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and climate adaptation strategies. Greenhouse gases. These are the greenhouse gases: carbon dioxide, methane, ozone, and so on. So the major cause of the greenhouse effect are burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, farming, and livestock production all contribute to the greenhouse effect. Industry and factories also play a major role in the release of greenhouse gases. This is the greenhouse effect. So carbon dioxide and water vapor absorb radiation coming to the earth and partly reflect it back to the earth's surface. Due to this, the earth's surface get heated up and result in global warming. So focusing on technology and progress, threatening our own planet's health and our own survival. So climate change leads to more intense drought and water scarcity. A study indicates because of global warming, half of India's agricultural land turned into a drought. Warmer temperature contributes to the spread of severe wildlife. In January 2025, wildfires devastated Los Angeles County. Rising sea levels threaten coastal cities with infrastructure and ecosystem, which also leads to the natural disaster like tsunami. Increased rainfall and flooding overwhelm the vulnerable region, which result in flooding and melting polar ice disrupt global weather patterns and biodiversity. What happens if you don't take action? So global warming progress towards the SDG 13 by intensifying extreme weather events, and we also delay the transition of sustainable practices. So to achieve the 2030, the goal of 2030 requires urgent action to reduce the emission and build resilience to the climate impacts. So again, if we fail to take action regarding the global warming, then the gradual temperature of Earth would rise, and the greenhouse gases would also increase, and the sea level rise. By this, contaminant interaction, such as atmospheric contaminant interaction, causes heat waves, dust storms, and aquatic contaminant interaction causes floods, storm surges, and terrestrial contaminant interaction cause bushfires, hurricanes, droughts, increased runoffs. Speak up. Every action counts in creating transformative change. So, as we talked about before, take urgent action to control the climate change and its impact. So, how to control the climate change? We want to raise awareness about the global warming and the climate change to the people, because at present the people were not aware about the causes and consequences of global warming and climate change. So, we want to raise awareness regarding this to make them understand. Next, action for a healthy planet. So, we want to save energy. How to save energy at home? So, to save energy at home, switch to energy efficient appliances, unplug electronics when not in use, use natural resources such as natural light, and to reduce the energy consumption. Switch to renewable. Change your home source of energy. You can switch to renewable energy sources like solar or wind power. And you can also clean up the environment by reduce waste by recycling, composting, and using eco-friendly products, minimizing pollution to create a cleaner and healthier environment. So, the difference between linear approach and circular economy. So, the linear approach is what we are doing now. We make a product and use it. When not needed, we throw it away. This leads to the pollution. But in case of circular economy, we make a product, use it, and when not needed, we can reuse it or remake it or recycle it. By doing this, we can control the pollution and release the less polluted object, and it acquires less material, and we can have varieties of objects with a less material. Building a sustainable future with a circular economy. So, a never-ending circular economy ensures resources are endlessly reused and recycled, minimizing waste and promoting sustainability. So, by recycling the products, we can minimize the waste and promote the sustainability. The three principles of circular economy are eliminating waste and pollution, circulating products and material, the regeneration of nature. These three principles were very important to attain the goal of 2030. Rise for Climate Action. Prachi Shekankar, a CEO and founder of Cool the Globe. So the story of Cool the Globe is her journey started with a simple question: what can I do about the climate change? So this simple question turned into a great invention of the application named the Cool the Globe. The application looked like this. So in this, we can unite everybody and spread awareness inside our home. So let's head to the conclusion. Necessity, not just a goal. So Following sustainable development is mandatory and essential for a well-being of a current and future generation. So the three pillars of sustainable development are environmental, social, economic. The framework for the future is it offers a pathway to a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable future. Collective responsibility. Achieving sustainability requires efforts from all sectors, individuals, communities, governments, and industry. So all the sectors want to be united to attain the goal of 2030. So, the earth is our only home. Together, we must protect and cherish it. We are the first generation to be able to end poverty and the last generation that can take steps to avoid the worst impact of climate change. Future generation will judge us harshly if we fail to uphold moral and historical responsibility. Our planet, our pride. Preserving it with a purpose through sustainable development goals. Thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, Purnashree. Our planet, our pride. Achieving it through the sustainability goals. That's really the key takeaway, and that's the golden words that we have heard from you today. Though very smaller in size, but greater in spirits, credit goes to Purnashree definitely. So, which grade are you studying, Purna? 9th standard, if I'm right?
Yes, ma'am.
Which school?
Vivekananda Vidyalaya School.
Vivekananda Vidyalaya. So, exactly, out of inquisitiveness, I'm just asking you, in the sense like, who helped you in this presentation? What was your initiative in the sense?
My mom gave me an idea about this presentation, so how to prepare it, and by her idea, I slowly developed the presentation.
That's great, really great. Now, definitely, I know the children of this age should be guided by the parents, indeed. And are you involved in any of the sustainability projects as such?
No, ma'am. This is my first sustainability project.
Oh, God. So, kudos to G20 International One Planet Cabinet. Welcome to you. A warm welcome to you, Purnashree. Really amazing.
Thank you, ma'am.
It is. Well, I think everybody will agree with us. Like, for her age, she has really covered quite a lot. So, to develop an understanding of the impacts, highlighting the impacts and the root causes of the climate change to communicate the value of the sustainable best practices involved to all the key stakeholders by awareness campaign and other practices which could be that as a project lead, as a projects which are involved, and also not to compromise on business opportunities and collaborations. Let's learn to identify the business opportunities that are arising by transitioning to the environmentally sustainable organization, definitely. To understand the interdependence between the innovation and sustainability as a guiding force for developing our sustainable initiatives, and develop a proactive mindset to lead the change, grow with the change, evolve with the change. Catalyst for the change very effectively with an eye towards positioning the organization as an agent of change. That's a very massive impact that she has really mentioned. And also other few impacts about the loss and damage, as she was mentioning about humanitarian impacts of displacement, loss of life and everything, and economy impacts a little bit on economic development. Environmental impacts with the loss of biodiversity, degradation, and even ecosystem as such, and also the damage of international cooperation, which is quite lacking. And so it's a call to the world to say that global cooperation to address the cause and consequences of the loss and damage. Definitely, we will keep these things in mind with the issue of the food and damage as a content of the climatic change. And as it is multifaceted, alarming threats are involved. It requires a comprehensive, coordinated response from all those people in the governance who are involved in it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really,
And
it's amazing.
And I'm very impressed and inspired by the creation, and I'm very inspired by Tanuja ma'am for presentation. And
ma'am is waiting to join. May I request Niranjan to let Tanuja ma'am in? I think she's waiting to join. So if our backstage heroes can let ma'am in, please. Yes, Purnashri, please continue.
And my mother also inspired by her. So,
Pankaj ma'am, yes, very good. She definitely, we are missing her today, and she's joining the forum very soon, and she's waiting to join. And I think Niranjan has to help us in this. If Tanuja ma'am, once she joins, maybe we will take few words from her as well. Sure. Thank you, Purnashri. Thanks for your presence. Thanks for becoming a leader there. I could see a leader in you. And so that our future champion is here definitely to take the lead for the future. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable words.
Sure. Thank you. So moving further, I would request Mridula ma'am to call, to invite Mr. Premnath. Thank you.
Okay, now let's welcome Mr. Premnath Babu, the inspiring and dynamic CEO of Chilton TMC Consultant. With over 20 years of experience in the manufacturing industry, he specializes in driving global sustainability initiatives and operating excellence across diverse business sectors. Mr. Babu holds deep expertise in ESG, carbon footprinting, LCA, EPD, and sustainability reporting. Through Chilton TMC Consultant, he collaborates with industries to tackle complex sustainability challenges, enhance environmental performance, and ensure regulatory compliance. Rooted in a powerful mission to preserve and protect our planet, his work reflects a deep commitment to shaping a more sustainable future. Mr. Babu, please share your perspectives on upcoming losses and damages, sir.
Mr. Premnath will be summarized by Vasantirina Williams, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Sir, your screen is loading. Yes, sir, it is visible.
Good evening to all.
But we need to go to the presentation mode. It's okay with you?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yes, perfect, sir. Good to go. Thank you. The floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thanks for one more opportunity given to me. At the same time, nothing is pending for me. So before the speakers, whatever they want to cover, they have covered everything. Nothing is there for me to cover, which is going to be very new and all. Nothing is there. But really appreciate Ms. Purna, who spoke before this, as well as Mundulanda. I want to say that they are very youngsters. I really appreciate them. They are coming forward and participating in this kind of conferences. So it will be a good example. But at the same time, if they ask what you did, we don't have any answers. As elders, we don't have any answers, because what is the damage we can do, we have did. We are taking the future's wealth and we are consuming now. It is not that it is made for us. In childhood and all, we used to say that there is only one life, enjoy the life and all. But that was a big wrong theory which we come across. With this, today my topic is future losses and damages will rise with the increased global warming. So addressing the loss and damage is the crucial third pillar of climate actions. So providing support to people and communicate after they have experienced climate-related impacts. So everybody covered the water, soil, air pollutions, land contaminations, about the farmers, everything you covered already. So we take the water. So the water, we see that if you take in all over the world, example, you take 100% water is there. On that 97.5% is the salt water, where we cannot have the access to drink. Balance is 2.5%. On that 1.5% in the North Pole and South Pole has ice. Only 1% of water is there in the remain there. On that 1.5% is under the ground only. So only 0.5% of water we have the access to drink and other facilities. And that also we have polluted like anything now. So example, how it is getting polluted. One example is, if you take the 50 years before of my elders and all, so in a year, even the clothes, we will buy only one cloth in a year or two cloths in a year. But now, every time when you go to a shopping, whenever we see any online misbar, known or anything, we see that we used to buy some clothes. So every time when you run the washing machine, the science is saying that there are more than 700,000 plastic particles are mixing with the water. So after that, whatever the treatment you do, it may be ETP or STP water, the plastic cannot be separated from that. Even the last January also, not this year, 2021 January also, Japan has made a sample. They have taken from the cloud and they saw that Even then, the cloud also, they found that there is a plastic particles out there. Even we are losing a lot of damage, like we talk about the rise in sea levels, glaciers melting. Even Venezuela, 2024, we lost that glacier. Before the 9 glaciers, now I think around 7 glaciers only we have now. So with that loss and damages, the general term used in the UN climate negotiations refer to the consequence of climate change that go beyond that people can adopt. So as per the IPCC 2021 report also, it is given the red alert to the humans. There is urgent action is required, but still we cannot request to anyone. We have to implement. Otherwise, what will happen? The losses. So what we are seeing now, the rain, wherever we are seeing the floods, we are seeing that. Well, if a tumbler is there, it's only there 200 ml of a tumbler. If 20 liters of water will pour on that, it cannot be able to take that. The same thing is happening in a monsoon. In the 10 centimeter to 15 centimeter of water is there, means yes, there will be no much flood. But what is happening in the last recent years? It may be in Wayanad, it may be in Thoothukudi, it may be in New York, over here today. So within 48 hours, within 24 hours, more than 50 centimeters of rains are there. So they are not able to withstand. Earth is not able to withstand that because of that only. So because due to, as you said, that Pakistan 2 years before in 2022, there was it is a huge loss. 30 billion is a loss. Still, as per the record, it is a huge loss because of the floods, because of the cloud burst. Up to 2020, we are talking about the cloud burst. Now we are not talking, it has a cloud burst. Last year they said it is a cloud lakes. That much of rain is falling everywhere. So if humans choose to ignore climate change, believing themselves greater than the forces of nature, they are gravely mistaken. The consequences of that irresponsibility and environmental destructions will be severe and far-reaching. For example, the loss of coastal heritage sites due to rising sea levels, loss of homes and living during extreme floods. So we see the water. I will show a small video. So by 2050, an additional 1 billion people are expected to live with the extremely high water stress. Example, a person in a day, he needs at least 200 liters of water. But if you take some poor areas and other poor areas and where the poverty is more, they have access only to 20 liters of water. They cannot do anything on that. So globally, half of the world population is exposed to extremely high water stress at least 1 month a year. By 2050, that number could be closer to 60%. But what causing global water stress? Across the world, water demand has more than doubled since 1960. Increased water demand is often the result of the growing populations in industries like irrigated agriculture, livestock, energy production, manufacturing. Meanwhile, a lack of investment in water infrastructure, unsustainable water use of policies, or increased variability due to climate change can all affect the available water supply. So, irrigated agriculture. So if you take a cup of coffee, when you're taking a cup of coffee, so nearly 140 liters of water is required to take a cup of coffee. So some of the people in Middle East, you can see that people use more beef. So if you take the 1 kg of beef, nearly 60,000 to 20,000 liters of water is required from the cattle feed to the people. So the water consumption too much is going on. So rising sea levels. So when you say the rising sea levels, in 2100, how much sea level will come into the land? It's in Jakarta. Nearly 50% of the Jakarta will be under the sea. We take Mumbai. So nearly 86% of the Mumbai will be under the sea. In Myanmar, 54%. We take Kolkata, 97%. Already, Kolkata, before 1950 or maybe 1960 itself, they said that 50% of Kolkata will be under the sea water. And if we take Dubai, also 31% will be under the sea level in 2100. So what is the earth we are going to give? Are we going to give the earth like this to the next generations? Are they able to survive in this? The people and animals impacted by the environmental degradations and destructions. Focus on South Pacific Islanders impacted by rising oceans from climate change. The local people in these photos, photographed underwater of, this is only for the purpose of video purpose, they have acted on this. So, loss and damage can result from extreme weather events like cyclones, droughts, and heat waves, as well as from slow onset changes such as sea level rise, desertification, glacial retreat, land degradation, ozone acidification, and sanitations. So before there was much, other speakers also given a more explanation about this. The desertification, you can see that for here also we are seeing there are in Wayanad what was happened. So ice, how much ice is melting now? So Arctic region, which is formed in the sea, which is melting now. Antarctic region, which is also melting. The example, 2 years before, the study says that normally the winter, the temperature will be minus 60 degree. But on that particular year, it was only minus 12 degree. Still, people say that, oh, it is only minus 12, it will be too chill. No, from minus 60 to minus 12, there's a huge difference there. So climate change continues. Many scientists believe that massive ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica will collapse and melt entirely, eventually pouring enough water into the oceans to rise global sea levels by several meters. The UN climate body now posits that under a low emissions scenario, average sea level will rise between 61 centimeter and 1.1 meter by the end of the century. By 2050, rising seas could push peak high tides above land country, home we have near 300 million people, mostly in Asia. So, the ocean is also one of the carbon dioxide sink. It will act as a sink. But last so many years, when it was keep on absorbing the carbon dioxide, what is happening? Now it is already acidified. So because of that, those living beings inside the ocean, which is also getting affected now. The ocean absorbs around 25 to 30% of the world annual carbon dioxide emissions, which helps mitigate the impacts on climate change. Yet, at the same time, for the seas and ocean to become more acidic. In 250 years since the Industrial Revolution began, the acidity of the oceans has been 30% increase. So, if global temperatures continue to rise, means the impact on the marine life is becoming increasingly evident, with the warming of our oceans landing to disrupt ecosystems, changes in behavior, and even increased repression among the sea life. Even in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Fujairah and all, I used to work with the organizations where they have aquafarming. So normally we used to take fish. There are two types of fishes. There is a wild fish and soft fish. After going to the organization, I come to know that. So the wild fish will be inside the ocean. They will not come to the seashore at all. So for them also the food is the soft fish. For the humans like us also, we take only soft fish. But the population of soft fish is going down. For that, the government has taken steps. They have kept a lot of cages. It's like a big fish tank, something like that. There are a lot of cages there, more than 200 cages, 300 cages you can see when you go near to the Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi's, Kuwait, Bahrain and all. So they are forming, and after it become some certain sizes, again they are pouring into the seeds in between the oil fish. So economic losses and damage are those affecting resources, goods and services that are commonly traded in markets, such as damage to critical infrastructure and corporate supply chain disruptions. So even the seawater came into the Indian-Bangladesh border. Villages in the suburbs were to repair damage after seawater flooded an adjacent paddy field. This low-lying delta region stayed as the India-Bangladesh border, home to an estimated 4.5 million people. It is particularly vulnerable to rising sea levels. So floods. When there is a flood in Spain, how it was. This is a picture of Spain. So a lot of damages to us, even in the cities also. So the potential future effects of global climate change include more frequent wildfires, long periods of drought in some regions, an increase in the wind intensity and rainfall from tropical cyclones. So in 2023, we know that El Nino effect. Because of that only, some areas of more drought. There is some, after the El Nino effect, the La Nina started. When there was a huge rains was there. In Dubai also last year, it was affected. After that, Wayanad as well as Thoothukudi. The scientists have high confidence that global temperature will continue to rise for many decades, mainly due to greenhouse gas produced by human activities. The IPCC 6th Assessment Report published in 2021 found that human emissions of heat-trapping gases have already warmed the climate by nearly 2 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 1.1 degrees Celsius, since 1850 to 1900. The global average temperature is expected to exceed 1.5 degrees centigrade in the next few decades. This change will affect all regions of Earth. Even we are thinking that even we achieve 1.5 degrees centigrade, everything will be reversible. We are thinking nothing will be reversed. Even if you go up to 1.5 degrees centigrade, what we are facing today, the same thing will be there, but it will not go worse than this. What we are facing today, last 10 years, to keep it the same temperature and the same kind of living to the next generation, for that only we are fighting for this. So if it is 1.5 degrees centigrade, how it will be, you can see here. if it's 2 degrees centigrade, how vulnerable? So 3 degrees centigrade and 4 degrees centigrade. So if current policy persists, global warming could reach up to 3 degrees in another 100 years. So we're saying that by net zero 2050, we're saying that. So how many countries are fixed the target? Yeah, as per the Paris Agreement, all the countries are accepted. But if you see the climate action tracker, so most of the countries still have not fixed the targets. Europe is saying that 2040, India is saying 2070, China and Russia is saying 2060, Saudi is 2060, UAE is 2050. So, but there is no uniformity in that also. Now, the latest report is saying that the more carbon we have emitted, where the ocean or the forest, which has to take it as or act as a carbon sink, now it is not acting like that. The trees and land absorbed almost no CO2 last year. This nature carbon sink filing. The sudden collapse of carbon sink was not factored into climate models and could rapidly accelerate the global heating. So, in nature was losing its power as a carbon sink. So, wetlands, we are losing the wetlands. The recent report warns that the world natural carbon sinks, forest, ocean, wetlands are rapidly losing their ability to absorb carbon due to global heating. As temperature rises, these critical ecosystems are under stress, leading to potential carbon sink collapses that would release stored carbon back into atmospheres, pushing us even further away from our climate goals. So this climate change would cut world economy by $23 trillion by 2050. Insurance gain warns about this. So if you go to earth.org, so 10 warmest year, we see that every year we are breaking the records. First they said 2016 was the warmest year. Then 2023 we said, now 2024. So now we reached nearly 1.29 degrees centigrade we reached now. So record sea levels, ocean heat, CO2 constant 24, wake up call for humanity, warned by UN weather agencies. Per capita. So as a person, we are allowed to emit 4.8 tons per person in the world. But if you see that some area countries like Singapore, UAE, Qatar, US, they are all emitting more than that. If you see that highest is by Qatar, which is 35, because UAE is 21. So you can China has 18.9, United States of 14.21. India is still 1.89, but due to the population, huge population, so it is more than that. So if you go to the worldometer, you can get all the countries' details about this. So what are the countries? Are they taking the actions really? We see India. We go by the climate action tracker, if we go there, it is highly insufficient. What is the action we are taking? We are thinking that, oh, we entered into the sustainability. What is the actual, because we are in the field, we are seeing actually when the customer asks, you have to go for ESG, you have to go for the climate change means, then only you can do the business with us. They are taking a shortcut, saying that if I pay where I can get the certificate. I want to satisfy my customer. So give me a certificate, something like that. So my continued business will be going there. Even when you submit the code in the construction industries, they'll say that you have to follow the lead, you have to follow the STIDAMA, you have to follow the green building regulations. Yes, everything will move. Once they finalizing the time of quotation or proposal, they'll say that, oh, it's too huge. So what is the alternative here? Then they'll remove one by one, all the sustainable materials go out of the proposal. Then they'll agree, yes. Actually, it is the fact it is happening. After the construction, they are saying that it is a pearl or gold or silver rating and all. But I saw many buildings, maybe in UAE, maybe in India. Actually, these are all false claims. I can say that. So we take UAE, insufficient. So before they are also the IED insufficient only. After conducting the COP29, they have taken some steps. Now they came out with some rules and regulations. So it mentioned as insufficient. But still, many countries, still their target, net zero target is not fixed by them. Even in one of the area in India, I can say the 400-acre forest in Hyderabad, how to come to 200 species of birds and animals and over 400 species of plants being cleared by the government to monetize the land for real estate and IT parks. The story underneath this is bigger than just Hyderabad, because this is not just about one single forest, it's about how we value the destructions as progress. So what are the takeaways from this? We already see effects scientists predicted, such as the loss of sea ice, melting glaciers and ice sheets, sea level rise, and more intense heat waves. Scientists predict global temperature increases from human-made greenhouse gases will continue. Severe weather damage will also increase and intensify. Rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and biodiversity loss are just the beginning of the catastrophic impacts we will face. Our ecosystems are reaching a tipping point, and the window for the meaningful action closes rapidly. Without immediate and decisive action, future generations will inherit a planet that is increasingly inhospitable and fraught with challenges. The time to act is now, before the damage becomes irreversible. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. It was really very inspiring. Rightly said, we have taken over from our future generation. You started with that, and you said that we need to set it right for them, because we have taken their part of from what do you say, their share. We have taken that, which is not good. And you also mentioned that 5% of water we have for drinking, and that is also polluted. What I found very interesting in your discussion was you justified everything very well. You also mentioned that how our earlier generations, ancestors did not purchase many clothes, and that's also very right. Now, every time we see something, we go to buy one and we end up buying 3 or 4 sets of dresses, and we use the washing machine more. So we are using more of water, and then the soap, chemicals, and so on. Yeah, very right. And then you also mentioned that we are consuming plastic in each and every form. Yes, recently there's so many discussions on that. They say even breathing, we are breathing microplastic. It's become part of our life. That is what research is telling. And that's really very alarming, in fact, and the effect can be irreversible if we do not take immediate measures, very rightly said. And see, each and everything you mentioned was it's not fiction, it is the truth. This is something that is really happening. And then you also mentioned about more than 50 centimeters of rain the earth is not able to withstand, which again is showing in we are in a red zone basically. And you said that cloudburst has changed to cloud flood, and the video was extremely inspiring, and I felt that it drives your whole discussion objectives straight hitting the bullseye. And you also mentioned about high water stress being faced at present. Yeah, that is very true. Also, you spoke about the rising sea level. You also mentioned how the areas near the coastal areas can be submerged into the sea. You gave examples of Mumbai, Dubai, and Jakarta. And you also mentioned about the average sea level rise by 61 centimeters or 1.1 meter by the end of this century. It's really alarming. I feel I am half a century old already, but I feel my mother and my father were more happier because their generation did not have to face so many things. Now it is like anything you buy, anything you consume, we need to think a lot, and these kind of platforms bring in a lot of information sharing, which I think should not be restricted only amongst people here. That this needs to, just like Purna Shri, she should be motivating, and rightly said by Dr. Srividhya, she is a leader because the way she took the initiative, I wish she takes, I hope she's there, I wish she takes this initiative further and inspires many more. She seems to be inspired by another girl. I'm not able to recollect correctly, but she seems to be inspired by, I think, Prachi something, right? So I wish many will be inspired by you as well, and somebody will mention your name. So similarly, sir, you also mentioned about this was news to me. I was not aware of it. You spoke about soft fish and the wild fish, and how the government is taking measures in Saudi Arabia to save these wild fish. How they're putting them in cages, taking care, and then putting them back into the sea. That is really, a good initiative. So I think initiatives like this, like now you're spreading that information to us and we spread it to someone else, and then this awareness happens. Because as one of the speakers earlier mentioned, that, it is the innocent people who get say for example, the farmers who are suffering because of maybe industrial pollution or so on and so forth. But somewhere down the line, each and everyone are, that's rightly said, but somewhere down the line, each and every one of us are responsible. See, I may not be an industrialist, but my actions paves the way or adds on to all this commotion that is happening, because though I am aware, I still feel that it's okay if I use one plastic bag. What if only I use? But then I don't think that there are so many eyes, and then that becomes a huge number. You also mentioned about your diagrammatic representation about global warming, really alarming. You drew the message across very well, and you also spoke about the latest news that trees have stopped absorbing carbon dioxide. All these are red lights for all of us. We have how this CO2 emissions permitted, which is presently more than double the set data. That also you depicted very well, very clearly stated with justification, which is helping to drive your objectives across. Sir, it was very interesting, and I thank you so much for sharing this knowledge with us, because I'm sure there's so many takeaways from and it was not just the statistical data. It was like you drew the matter across, which I feel is really going to be helpful for all of us. But then not just the information. The second part is implementation. So from our side, at least, a little bit from each one of us could help in, as you said, at least if we cannot reduce it, at least it will be in the same level. At least we are not increasing the pollution. At least we are keeping it at the same level because of our awareness, and we are able to give to our future generation something which they may not blame us later for. Thank you so much, sir. It was very very nice and interesting. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
To conclude our session, we have Mr. Adavan Kartikai Selvam from Indus International School, deeply interested about climate awareness. He will be sharing his thoughts on how future losses and damages are likely to increase with rising global warming. Mr. Adavan, please go ahead. And by the way, Vasanthi ma'am, I request you to summarize the main takeaways at the end.
So good evening to everyone. And before I get started, I'd like to thank everyone on giving me this opportunity again to speak here. So today I'll be talking about future losses and damages due to increased global warming. So the overview. Global warming refers to the long-term increase in Earth's average surface temperature due to human activities primarily. The emissions of greenhouse gases. Current global temperatures have risen approximately 1.1 degrees Celsius since the late 19th century, largely due to fossil fuel combustion and land use changes. And the importance. First, so understanding global warming is crucial for several reasons. First, it helps us create effective environmental policies that protect our planet by knowing how global warming affects the environment. We make informed decisions about how to reduce its impact. This knowledge allows policymakers to design that limit greenhouse gas emissions, promote renewable energy, and protect natural resources. Second, the urgency of addressing climate change comes from its wide-ranging effects. Global warming doesn't just affect temperature, it impacts ecosystem, economies, and human health. For example, rising temperatures can lead to more extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, floods, and droughts, which can damage homes and disrupt communities. These events can also lead to food and water shortages, affecting millions of people worldwide. So the causes of global warming. So basically, global warming is mainly caused by greenhouse gases, which trap heat in the atmosphere. And the most significant gases include carbon dioxide or CO2. This is the largest contributor to global warming. It is primarily produced by burning fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gases. For energy and transportation, we drive cars, power our homes, or operate factories. We release CO2 into the atmosphere. Deforestation also exacerbates this issue, as fewer trees mean less CO2 absorption. Next up is methane, also known as CH4. This gas is released during the production and transportation of fossil fuels. It is also emitted from livestock and agricultural practices, such as rice cultivation. And methane is much more effective than CO2 at trapping heat, making it a patent greenhouse gas. Over a short period, methane can be significantly more impactful than CO2 in terms of warming potential. Next up is nitrous oxide. This gas comes from agricultural activities, especially when fertilizers are used, as well as from some industrial processes like methane or nitrous oxide. Is very effective at trapping heat in the atmosphere. Its emissions are often overlooked, but they contribute significantly towards global warming. Understanding these causes can help us identify where we make changes to reduce emissions and combat global warming. By targeting these sources, we can develop strategies to lower our carbon footprint and promote a healthier planet. Next up is human activities. So human activities are the main drivers of greenhouse gas emissions. And here are some key activities that contribute towards global warming. First up is fossil fuel combustion. This is the primary source of CO2 emission when we burn fossil fuels for electricity, heating, and transportation. We release large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This includes emissions from power plants, cars, and airplanes. The transportation sector alone accounts for a significant portion of global greenhouse gas emissions, highlighting the need for cleaner alternatives. Next up is deforestation. Trees absorb CO2 from the atmosphere, so when we cut down forests for agriculture, development, or logging, we reduce the number of trees available to take in CO2. This is not only to increase the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, but also disrupts ecosystem and wildlife habitats. Deforestation can lead to soil erosion, loss of biodiversity, and change in water cycle. Further, climate changes. Industrial processes. Many industries emit greenhouse gases during production. For example, manufacturing cement, steel, and chemicals can release significant amount of CO2 and other greenhouse gases. The waste produced by these industries can also contribute to pollution and environmental degradation. Understanding these processes helps us find ways to reduce emission in industries and promote cleaner technologies. By recognizing these human activities, we can focus our efforts on reducing emissions and promoting sustainable practices. This includes transitioning from renewable energy sources, improving energy efficiency, and protecting natural habitats. Next up is the projected temperature increase. So current scientific projections indicate that if we continue with our current practices, we could see a rise in the global temperature by 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels by the year of 2030. This increase may reach to 2 degrees Celsius or more by the end of the century, and such temperature rises have serious implications. Ecosystems. Many plants and animals may struggle to adapt to these changes, leading to shifts in habitats and potentially causing extinctions. For example, polar bears rely on sea ice to hunt for food, and as the ice melts, their survival is threatened. Weather patterns. We can expect more frequent and severe weather events, such as hurricanes, floods, and droughts. These changes can disrupt agriculture, damage infrastructure, and threaten lives. A warmer atmosphere can hold more moisture, leading to a heavier rainfall and increased flooding. Even some of these include ocean changes. So the next part is economic impact. So one second, sorry, I think the slide's been, environmental impact. So the environmental impacts of global warming are significant and wide-ranging. So some of them include ecosystems and biodiversity. As temperatures rise, habitats will change. Some species may migrate to cooler areas, while others may face extinction. If they cannot adapt quickly enough, this loss of biodiversity can disrupt ecosystems and lead to a decline in services. that nature provides, such as clean water and pollination. Okay, so next up is ocean acidification and increased levels of higher acidity. So temperatures can also affect our oceans, which means increased CO2 levels lead to ocean acidification, which harms marine life, particularly coral reefs, shellfishes, additionally melting ice caps, contributing to rising sea levels, threatening coastal communities and ecosystem. Okay. So next up is the social economic impact. So the economic impact. Global warming has serious economic consequences. Some of them are direct and indirect. So direct consequences. Extreme weather events can cause significant damage to infrastructure such as roads, bridges, and buildings. Repairing this damage can be very costly for governments and communities. Following a hurricane, cities often face huge expenses for rebuilding and recovery, which can strain local budgets. So disaster recovery costs. Governments and organizations often spend billions on disaster response and recovery efforts. This includes emergency services, rebuilding homes, and providing aid to those affected. These costs can strain public budgets and divert funds from other important areas like education and healthcare. Next up is indirect costs. Climate change also leads to indirect economic impacts. For example, heat stress can reduce workers' productivity, and changing weather patterns can negatively affect agriculture, leading to food shortages and higher prices. These factors can create a cycle of economic instability, where communities struggle to recover from a disaster before facing another. So, understanding these economic impacts highlights the importance of investing in climate solutions to prevent further damage. By taking proactive measures, we can save money in the long run and create a more resilient economy. Next up is the social impact. The social impacts of global warming are profound. So some of them are health-related issues, spread of infectious diseases, and then climate refugees. Often people are forced to leave their homes due to climate-related disasters such as floods or tsunamis or many other reasons like that. So I'm going to explain this. It's 2 more minutes.
Okay, because it's nearing 8.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. So health risks. Rising temperatures can lead to heat-related illness such as heat exhaustion or heat stroke, especially among vulnerable population like the elderly and those with pre-existing health conditions. Additionally, climate change can expand the range of infectious diseases, putting more people at risk. For instance, warmer temperatures can increase the spread of disease carried by insects such as malaria and dengue fever. Climate refugees. As climate-related disasters become more common, people may be forced to leave their homes and migrate to safer areas. This phenomenon creates climate refugees, putting pressure on urban areas and resources, leading to overcrowding and increased competition for jobs and services. Okay, so next one is community disruption. And climate changes can disrupt communities, leading to loss of cultural heritage or social cohesion. And next up is the case studies. These are 2 case studies I put up with. So first one is a hurricane of 2005, which estimated costs of over 125 billion, which highlighted vulnerabilities of coastal cities to extreme weather. The disaster, which resulted in loss of lives, displacement of residents, and long-term economic challenges for the affected areas. Next up is the agricultural impact by the California drought. So, which was a prolonged drought that led to $2.7 billion in losses for farmers due to reduced crop yields and water availability. So, mitigation strategies. To address global warming, we can adopt several mitigation strategies: transition from renewable energies, and then energy efficiency measures. So transition could be shifting from fossil fuels to renewable energies such as solar, wind, or hydroelectric power, which can significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And then energy efficiency measures is improving energy efficiency in homes, businesses, and transportation can lead to significant reductions in energy use. And then infrastructure resilience, building infrastructure that can withstand extreme weather events is crucial. This includes improving drainage systems, reinforcing buildings, and investing in flood defenses. Next up is sustainable agricultural practices. Promoting practices that conserve water, improve soil health, and reduce emission can help farmers adapt to changing conditions while maintaining food security techniques. Overall, these strategies can help us reduce the impacts of climate change and build a more sustainable future. Collaboration among governments, businesses, and individuals is essential to implement these solutions effectively. Next up is the conclusion to what I've done on this presentation. In the conclusion, global warming possesses serious significant risks to economic stability, environmental health, and social well-being. Immediate action is required to mitigate its impacts and adapt to the changes already underway. Call to action: encourage individuals and communities and governments to take proactive steps towards sustainability and climate resilience. Advocate for policies and promote renewable energy conservation and responsible resource management. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Adhavan. That was a wonderful presentation. Reena ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Adhavan, Karthik, you have clearly shared your thoughts and suggestions on the cause of global warming, and I feel it's just a suggestion. I hope you take it in the right perspective. It's very visible that you have done your homework well and you're in the right track. I encourage you to keep going, and you should definitely come up with some means that are implementable to help in at least to help in whatever you've given a lot of suggestions. So I feel you should definitely come up with something that is implementable to help in at least one form of reducing global warming. Small drops. You hear a lot of hackathons. I'm sure you must be a part of it as well, because you seem to be quite an active student. So I think you should be coming up with some kind of a you already read so much, you're speaking so much about it. I was there in your previous discussion as well. So that is my suggestion from my side. Anyways, it was very good. Your homework is well done. Thank you. Very inspiring. Best wishes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vasantarina and William.
Yeah, welcome.
That's why we need people in the panel like that. Adhavan really, to talk about Adhavan, that he is not just a very student. He's an entrepreneur for his age, and he started his own business actually. So more sustainable efforts and sustainable parameters which are involved into it actually. So very soon we can see him in IGN in Wichita as well, and he's going to be one of the presenters for the presentation for his business, especially with the sustainability factor involved.
Very good.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation indeed. And I think everybody has covered almost all the points, and the thing is mainly the strategies that we need to adopt to control this is what we need to look into. That's what is the thing. Because we all know that exactly the alarming dangers which are involved in it. So moving ahead with the strategies, like as we know that climate change is a threatening, vulnerable thing that the whole world is facing and our Earth is facing, and with the adverse impact of the climatic change being felt in the Asian continents, in the Pacific, with so many examples that we can give. 2022 floods, and which has costed in, as he was mentioning, $30 billion, and with 2018 cyclone also with 38% of Tonga gross domestic product. As such, all these things, if we take into consideration, or if we really go into this, what all could be done to really handle these kind of situations? That's what is the thing. First, adopt a people-centered approach. That's what is required. Because we are talking about planet, we are talking about environment, but who is suffering? The people are suffering actually. So the people-centered approach to be taken into understanding as a climatic risk. That's the first thing that we need to think into. The non-economic losses often reflected the intersection of the people's relationships with environment, society and society. To understand the climatic risk, it is therefore very critical to understand the people's sense of loss and co-produce the strategies to minimize these. So this approach can really empower the vulnerable communities, foster collective action, and build a sense of care and responsibility in all our adaptation efforts. So following which, strong partnership between governments, technical organizations, and community-based organizations will be critical for success. So with these things, if we just move ahead, this new generation of the people-centered assessment can be promoted with the multi-hazard risk assessment as Premji is always there for ESG governance parameters and the metrics and the dynamics which are involved in it. Then adaptation pathways should guide the decision making. This adaptation entails adjusting the long-standing development processes, and the institutions may no longer fit to the purpose of the changing in climate. So developing a participatory manner adaptation pathways like us, like our forum, I did Energathon forum, as ma'am was suggesting, the younger generation has to come forward with all these understanding that adaptation needs to happen. So this involves starting from a small effort to a bigger effort. So every single, ma'am already mentioned, every single drop, per drop in the ocean will definitely make it to a big river. So every single step is a big leap up to fly high. So this involves starting small and preparing for the change to be implemented as the key moments of this climatic change. End of the day, who is the one who has to do it? Be the change that you wish to see in the society. We are the ones who have to conduct the change. We have to formulate it. We have to take it forward. We have to be the person who is going to do the train that transcend all these things with the improved governments and the political financial commitment and adaptation pathways, and provide opportunities for the long-term programmatic processes which are involved, which will build a resilience such that increase in the investment of the ecosystem and the nature-based solutions will be thought about, and all these things will definitely pave way for the better world, I think, a better planet. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session indeed, with all the speakers, eminent speakers, with their insights and influences. Huge takeaways as usual. As such, on that note, please help me to thank each one of us, our community partners, starting from GSFN, IGEN, Institution of Green Engineers, and also our academic partners with SRM group of institutions, Amity University, Dubai, and also the Engineering College, and also with Sairam Engineering College, and also our other community partners as Global Institution of Peace and Green Brigade, and also Universal Human Values. Thank you so much. And last but not the least, all of our speakers, eminent speakers, who have shared their insights and influences for today. Without their big support, we are not going to be here. Definitely, thanks for your valuable time and the influences and the hard effort that you have put in, and your huge research work that you have done for sharing on this platform. Really, it really inspires us, it really motivates us, it really encourages us, it supports us with any kind of thing that is required to take it forward. With this last session, we have covered almost all the points for the planet. From next session, we are moving on to the prosperity. So starting with that, we will go on to the digital and innovation systems. So thank you so much. Until we meet again for next Sunday, we are very thankful to all our community partners once again, and also the heads who are in the lead, and our eminent speakers who are joining us on this platform every week after week, and also our backstage support for IGEN and Kapilan. And every week we are giving chance for the new students to come and host the show. This week, our host for the show, Ms. Mridula, you did a fabulous job, wonderful job. Thank you so much. She took it on her shoulders and she took it so beautifully. Thank you, Mridula. Thanks for the wonderful effort, and thanks for each and every one of the coordinators, then like who just spoke to the brief, and our panelists, those who have summarized the presentation and the summaries. Really, without all your support, it's not going to happen. But one simple thing is that coming together is always a beginning. Staying together is a process. Working together is success. So let's all start working together such that we make it a success, and we will bring this dream to reality. That's what we are about to, and we are here for. Thank you so much. Until we meet again, thank you so much once again from the bottom of my heart. And definitely, I will wait to see you all for next Sunday as well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.